A billionaire's wife left bleeding in an alley, a crime lord who doesn't save anyone, and the night death became a second chance. This is the story of Celine Mercer, the woman who survived her own murder and chose vengeance over freedom. What happens when the monster who saves you is darker than the one who tried to kill you? When love becomes a weapon and survival demands blood? Stay until the end. Like this video. Comment what city you're watching from so I can see how far this story travels. Now let me take you into the rain. The rain comes down like nails against concrete, hammering the city into submission. It's the kind of rain that turns streets into rivers and washes evidence into storm drains before anyone thinks to look. Celine Mercer knows this because she's lying in one of those drains right now, choking on rainwater mixed with her own blood. Her ribs are broken. She can feel the sharp edges grinding against each other with every breath. Her left eye is swollen shut. Her lip is split so deep she can taste copper flooding her mouth. The alley smells like rotting garbage and piss and something else, something metallic and wrong that she realizes is her. 6 years of marriage just ended in 7 minutes of violence. Damien didn't even raise his voice while he did it. That's what she'll remember later, if there is a later. His face stayed blank the entire time, like he was crossing an item off a to-do list. Break wife's ribs, check. Rupture internal organs, check. Leave her dying in the rain, check. She tries to move, but her body refuses. Everything hurts in ways she didn't know were possible. Her fingers scrape against wet asphalt and come away red. Help, she whispers, but the word dissolves in the downpour. Nobody's coming. Nobody ever comes to this part of the city after dark unless they're dumping something they don't want found, like a wife. Damien's last words loop in her head like a broken record. You became inconvenient. Not, I don't love you anymore. Not, I want a divorce. Just that. Cold. Final. Like she was a business expense that no longer justified the cost. She thinks about their wedding day. The cathedral with flowers imported from Italy. The 1,000 guests who clapped when he kissed her. The photographer who told her she looked like a princess. She thinks about the first time he hit her, 2 years in. A slap across the face because dinner was cold. She'd apologized, actually apologized, like it was her fault his fist connected with her cheekbone. She thinks about the lawyer she almost called last month, the divorce papers she almost filed, the escape plan she almost executed. Almost doesn't mean shit when you're bleeding out in an alley. Her vision starts to blur. The rain sounds distant now, like it's falling on someone else. She's cold, so cold her teeth won't stop chattering even though it's May, and the temperature hasn't dropped below 70 all week. This is shock, she thinks. This is dying. She closes her eyes. Then she hears the car. It's not the sound of an engine that makes her look. It's the silence of one. Electric. Expensive. The kind of vehicle that glides instead of drives. Headlights cut through the rain like searchlights, painting the alley in harsh white light. A door opens. Footsteps. Not running. Not hurried. Deliberate. Celine forces her working eye open and sees polished Italian leather shoes stepping through puddles of filth without hesitation. Black suit pants with a crease so sharp it could cut glass. A hand reaching down. Then a face. The most beautiful and terrifying face she's ever seen. He's maybe 40. Dark hair swept back from a face carved from ice and cruelty. Jaw like a blade. Eyes so pale they look silver in the rain. The kind of eyes that don't blink when they watch someone die. She knows who he is. Everyone in this city knows who he is. Lucien Vale. The name people whisper in back rooms and dark corners. The man who controls everything illegal and half of what isn't. Drugs. Weapons. Information. Bodies. If there's money in it and blood on it, Lucien Vale owns it. He kneels beside her without flinching at the blood, or the garbage, or the rain. His suit probably costs more than her car. He doesn't seem to care that it's getting ruined. Who did this to you? His voice is quiet, controlled. The kind of voice that doesn't need to yell to be heard. Celine tries to speak, but only manages a wet cough that sends agony screaming through her ribs. Lucien's expression doesn't change. He reaches into his jacket, and she thinks gun, thinks this is it, thinks Damien sent him to finish the job. But he pulls out a phone instead. North Alley off 5th and Morrison, he says to whoever answers. Female, mid-20s, severe trauma. Bring the kit. He ends the call and looks at her again. Really looks. Like he's taking inventory of every injury, every bruise, every broken piece. Who? He repeats. Not a question this time. A command. She manages 2 syllables through the blood in her mouth. Damien! Something shifts in Lucian's eyes. Not anger. Worse. Recognition. Damien Mercer? She nods, and the movement makes her want to vomit. Lucien goes very still. The rain hammers down around them, but he doesn't blink, doesn't move, doesn't breathe. Then he does something that stops her heart. He smiles. It's not a kind smile. It's the smile of a man who just found exactly what he was looking for. Interesting, he says softly. Then he slides one arm under her shoulders and the other under her knees and lifts her like she weighs nothing. The pain is blinding, white hot. She screams, but no sound comes out. Breathe through it, Lucian says, carrying her toward the car. If you pass out, you might not wake up. She wants to tell him to call an ambulance, wants to tell him to take her to a hospital, wants to ask why the hell he's here in this alley at this exact moment. But consciousness is slipping away like water through her fingers. The last thing she sees before darkness takes her is Lucian's face above hers, rain streaming down his perfect features, those silver eyes watching her like she's a puzzle he intends to solve. The last thing she hears is his voice, quiet and absolute. You belong to me now. When Celine wakes up, she thinks she's dead. The ceiling above her is white, pure white, no water stains, no cracks, no flickering fluorescent lights, just smooth, perfect white. This isn't a hospital. She tries to sit up and her body immediately vetoes the idea. Pain explodes across her ribs, her back, her skull. She gasps and falls back against pillows that are too soft, too expensive, too wrong. Don't move. The voice comes from her left. She turns her head slowly and sees a woman sitting in a chair beside the bed. Mid-50s, gray hair pulled back in a severe bun, reading glasses perched on her nose. She's wearing scrubs, but they're tailored, pressed, nothing like the shapeless hospital kind. Who are you? Celine's voice sounds like gravel in a blender. Dr. Reeves. The woman sets down her tablet and stands. I've been monitoring your condition for the past 18 hours. 18 hours. Celine's heart rate spikes and a monitor somewhere starts beeping faster. Where am I? Mr. Vale's estate. The words hit like a fist. Celine's working eye darts around the room. It's huge. Cathedral ceilings. Floor-to-ceiling windows showing an ocean view. Furniture that belongs in a design magazine. Medical equipment that belongs in an ICU. I need to leave, Celine says, trying to sit up again. The pain doesn't care about her needs. Dr. Reeves moves to her bedside with the calm efficiency of someone used to uncooperative patients. You have 4 broken ribs, a ruptured spleen, severe internal bleeding, and a concussion. If you try to stand, you'll collapse. If you collapse, you'll die. Lie down. It's not a suggestion. Celine lies down. I need to call the police. No, you don't. The voice comes from the doorway. Lucien Vale walks in like he owns the room. Because he does. He owns the room and the house and probably half the state. He's changed clothes since the alley. Now he's wearing black pants and a white shirt with the sleeves rolled up. No jacket, no tie. Somehow, he looks more dangerous like this. Get out, Celine says. Her voice shakes, but she forces the words out anyway. Lucien ignores her. He nods at Dr. Reeves. How is she? Stable. The surgery went well. I've reduced the internal bleeding, but she needs at least 2 weeks of bed rest before... Surgery? Celine's voice cracks. What surgery? Dr. Reeves looks at her like she's stupid. Your spleen was hemorrhaging. I removed it. You're welcome. You can't just... Celine tries to sit up again and white-hot agony cuts through her abdomen. She gasps, falls back, hates herself for the weakness. I can and I did, Dr. Reeves says. You would have died without intervention. Now you won't. Try to show some gratitude. She picks up her tablet and walks out, leaving Celine alone with the monster. Lucien crosses to the windows and stands with his hands in his pockets, looking out at the ocean. The morning sun turns his profile into something carved from marble.
You saved my life, Celine says slowly. Why? Because you're valuable.
The word makes her stomach turn. She's heard it before. Damien used to call her valuable, an asset, a trophy, something to be displayed and controlled. I'm not interested in being your prisoner. Lucien turns to look at her. Those silver eyes pin her to the bed more effectively than any restraints. You're not my prisoner. You're my guest. Guests can leave. Not this one. Silence crashes over the room. Celine's heart hammers against her broken ribs. She can see the door, 20 feet away. Might as well be 20 miles. What do you want from me? She asks. Lucien walks to the foot of her bed. Up close she can see details she missed in the alley. The faint scar along his jawline, the way his knuckles are slightly misshapen from old breaks, the absolute absence of anything resembling mercy in his eyes. I want to know why Damien Mercer tried to kill his wife in an alley, instead of staging a car accident or a home invasion. I want to know what you did to make yourself inconvenient, and I want to know what you know about the Moretti Circle. The last words hit like ice water. Celine's face must show her confusion because Lucien's expression shifts slightly. Not quite surprise, more like interest. You don't know what that is, he says. Not a question. No. He studies her for a long moment. Then he pulls over a chair and sits, crossing one ankle over the other knee like they're having coffee instead of a conversation about attempted murder. The Moretti Circle is a criminal syndicate that operates across 17 countries. They deal in weapons, information, and leverage. 3 months ago, your husband started selling them classified military surveillance technology through his company's defense contracts. Celine's mouth goes dry. That's impossible. Damien runs a medical supply company. On paper, in reality, Damien Mercer Enterprises is a front for illegal arms dealing, has been for 6 years. Lucien tilts his head slightly. Since approximately the time he married you. The room tilts. Celine closes her eyes, but that makes it worse, so she opens them again. I don't believe you. I don't care if you believe me, it's true. Lucien leans forward, elbows on his knees. Your husband needed legitimacy. A wife from a good family, someone respectable to photograph at charity galas while he sold weapons to terrorists. You were perfect, clean, innocent, easy to control. You're lying. I never lie. Lying is for people who are afraid of consequences. His voice stays level, factual, like he's reciting a grocery list. 2 weeks ago, something changed. Damien decided you were a liability. He tried to have you killed. I'd very much like to know why. Celine's mind races through 6 years of marriage. The business trips, the late-night phone calls, the locked office she was never allowed to enter, the way Damien always insisted on joint bank accounts, but she never saw the statements, the laptop. Her breath catches. Lucien notices immediately. What? Nothing. Don't lie to me, Celine. I'm the only reason you're alive right now. You owe me honesty, if nothing else. She meets his eyes. They're cold and brutal and completely without pity. But they're also the eyes of someone who pulled her out of the rain when he could have left her to die. A month ago, I used Damien's laptop, she says quietly. Mine was broken. He was out of town. I just needed to check email. And? There were files, spreadsheets. I didn't understand most of it, but I saw numbers, big numbers, and names I recognized from the news, politicians, CEOs. She swallows hard. I thought maybe he was having an affair. I saved some of the files to a USB drive. Lucien goes very still. Where is this drive? Hidden. In my jewelry box. At the house. What house? The penthouse. Downtown. The one Damien still lives in. Yes. Lucien stands up and pulls out his phone. He taps something and brings it to his ear. Vincent, I need a team at the Mercer penthouse. Northeast quadrant, 17th floor. Retrieve a USB drive from a jewelry box in the master bedroom. Do it quietly. He ends the call and looks at Celine. If that drive contains what I think it contains, you didn't become inconvenient. You became a death sentence. For 3 days, Celine stays in the bed at Lucien's estate while her body slowly remembers how to function without screaming. Dr. Reeves visits twice daily to check her vitals and change her dressings. A silent woman brings meals on silver trays that Celine barely touches. The ocean outside her windows churns gray and endless. She doesn't see Lucien. On the fourth day, she manages to walk to the bathroom without collapsing. Small victories. She looks at herself in the mirror and doesn't recognize the face staring back. Both eyes are open now, but ringed with purple-black bruises. Her lip is healing, but still swollen. There's a bandage on her temple covering stitches she doesn't remember getting. She looks like someone who survived a war. Maybe she did. When she comes out of the bathroom, there's a man standing in her room. Not Lucien. This one is bigger, 6'4" at least, built like a brick wall wrapped in scar tissue. His face looks like it's been rearranged by fists multiple times and never quite healed right. He's wearing tactical pants and a tight black shirt that shows arms covered in old burns and blade marks. Celine freezes. The man looks at her with eyes that have seen too much and felt too little. "I'm Gideon Cross. Mr. Vale assigned me to your security detail." "I don't need security." "You do. Damien Mercer's body was found in his penthouse 3 hours ago, single gunshot to the head, staged as a suicide." Gideon's expression doesn't change. "The Moretti Circle is cleaning house. You're next." Celine's legs give out. She grabs the doorframe to stay upright, but Gideon is there in 2 steps, catching her elbow with surprising gentleness for someone who looks like he breaks people for a living. "Easy. Breathe. Damien's dead?" The words don't feel real. "Very. I should feel something." "Should you?" She looks up at Gideon. His face is brutal, but his eyes are calm, patient, like he's seen this kind of shock before and knows exactly how it plays out. "He tried to kill me," Celine says slowly. "Yes. And now he's dead." "Yes." "I should feel guilty, or relieved, or scared." She shakes her head. "I don't feel anything." "That's normal. Shock does that. Give it time." Gideon guides her back to the bed. "Mr. Vale wants to see you. You strong enough to walk?" "I don't have a choice, do I?" "You always have a choice. But some choices are smarter than others." Gideon leads her through the estate, and Celine finally understands the scale of Lucien's world. Marble floors, original artwork on every wall, security cameras in every corner, men in suits standing at strategic points throughout the house, all of them armed, all of them watching her with the same dead-eyed focus. They take an elevator down. When the doors open, Celine steps into something that looks like a war room. Massive screens covering one wall showing news feeds, security footage, and what looks like surveillance of half the city. A conference table long enough to seat 20 people, maps pinned to boards, photos of faces she doesn't recognize connected by red string like something from a crime show. Lucien stands at the head of the table, studying a screen showing the outside of Damien's penthouse, crime scene tape, police cars, reporters. He doesn't turn when they enter. "They're calling it suicide," he says. The gun was in his hand, powder residue on his fingers, no signs of forced entry. "But it wasn't," Celine says. "No, it was an execution made to look like self-inflicted guilt." Lucien taps the screen and the image changes to a close-up of Damien's face. Eyes open, blood. The Moretti Circle is thorough when they clean up mistakes. Celine looks at her dead husband and feels nothing except a distant sense of finality, like closing a book she never wanted to read in the first place. "What about the USB drive?" she asks. Lucien turns to face her. He looks tired, not physically tired, soul tired, like he's been fighting this war for so long he's forgotten what peace looks like. "Vincent retrieved it. The encryption is basic. We'll have it cracked within the hour." He crosses his arms. "If it contains what I think it contains, you're not just a witness. You're evidence, and evidence gets destroyed. So what do? You hide. I have safe houses across the city. I can move you every 48 hours until—" "No." Lucien raises an eyebrow. "No? I'm not hiding." Celine's voice shakes, but she forces it steady. "I spent 6 years hiding, from Damien's fists, from his rage, from the truth of who he was. I'm done hiding." "Then you're suicidal." "Maybe. Or maybe I'm finally done being afraid." Gideon makes a sound that might be approval. Lucien shoots him a look that could melt steel. "This isn't a movie," Lucien says to Celine. "You don't get a training montage and a happy ending. The Moretti Circle will send professionals. The kind who make people disappear so completely their own families forget they existed. You have no training, no weapons, no idea how to survive what's coming." Then teach me. Silence drops over the room like a guillotine. Lucian stares at her, really stares, like he's looking for something he didn't expect to find. You want to learn how to fight, he says slowly. I want to learn how to survive. Survival is running. Fighting is something else. Then teach me something else. Gideon clears his throat. I can train her. Lucien turns that Arctic stare on his security chief. She has broken ribs and a concussion. She's standing upright and she's angry. That's enough to start with. Gideon looks at Celine. Pain is just information. You can work through it, or you can let it control you. Your choice. Celine looks at the screens, at the photos of victims connected by red string, at Damien's corpse still displayed on the monitor, at Lucien Vale watching her like she's a variable in an equation he hasn't solved yet. I choose to work through it, she says. Lucien studies her for a long moment. Then he nods once. Fine. Gideon trains you. But if you slow us down or become a liability, I'll put you on a plane to somewhere the Moretti Circle will never find you, and you'll spend the rest of your life looking over your shoulder. Understood? Understood. Good. He turns back to the screens. Training starts tomorrow, 6 a.m. Don't be late. Gideon leads her back to the elevator. As the doors close, Celine catches one last glimpse of Lucien standing alone in his war room, surrounded by screens and shadows and the weight of whatever empire he's built from blood and fear. The elevator rises in silence. Why is he helping me? Celine asks quietly. Gideon doesn't look at her. Because you have information he needs. That's not why. No, Gideon agrees, but it's the reason he tells himself. But 6 a.m. comes too early and too brutal. Celine wakes to Gideon pounding on her door like he's trying to break it down. She drags herself out of bed, every muscle screaming, and finds workout clothes laid out on a chair. Sports bra, leggings, running shoes, all in her size. She doesn't want to think about how Lucien knew her measurements. The gym is in the basement. Of course it is. Everything dangerous in this house lives underground. It's massive, but weight racks, punching bags, padded mats, equipment she doesn't have names for. Gideon is already there, wrapped in hand wraps and hitting a heavy bag with strikes that make the whole thing shudder. He stops when he sees her. You're late. It's 5:58. That's late. He tosses her a pair of hand wraps. Wrap up. I'm going to teach you how to make a proper fist before you break your thumb trying to hit someone. For 2 hours, Gideon breaks her down to nothing and builds her back up wrong. He corrects her stance 17 times, makes her practice the same punch over and over until her shoulder burns and her knuckles split inside the wraps. Doesn't let her stop even when she's gasping for air and her ribs feel like they're tearing apart from the inside. Pain is just information, he says every time she hesitates. What's it telling you? That I'm dying. Wrong. It's telling you you're alive. Dead people don't hurt. Move. She moves. By the end of the session, she's soaked in sweat and shaking so hard she can barely stand. Gideon hands her a water bottle and watches her drink like he's evaluating livestock. You're weak, he says. Slow. Your form is terrible. But you didn't quit. That's something. Is that a compliment? It's an observation. He unwraps his hands. Same time tomorrow. Don't be late. Celine drags herself back to her room and collapses on the bed. Every nerve ending is screaming. Her ribs feel like someone is driving nails between them. She should sleep. Instead, she stares at the ceiling and thinks about the feel of her fist connecting with the heavy bag, the solid thud of impact, the way her body remembered how to fight back even though her mind had forgotten. She thinks about Damien's last words. You became inconvenient. She thinks about Lucien's first words. You belong to me now. She thinks about Gideon's quiet observation. Pain is just information. Then she closes her eyes and lets the darkness take her. Pass. The days blur into a brutal routine. 6 a.m. training with Gideon. 2 hours of strikes and footwork and learning how to fall without breaking. Then breakfast alone in her room while her body tries to remember what normal feels like. Afternoons in the library researching the Moretti Circle on Lucy Shea's private network. Evenings watching the news coverage of Damien's death spiral into conspiracy theories and speculation. She doesn't see Lucien. He's a ghost in his own house. She hears about him from the staff, hears he's in meetings, Here's he's handling business. Here's he's somewhere else doing something she's better off not knowing about. But she feels him watching. The cameras in every room aren't just for security. She knows he's monitoring her, knows he's tracking her progress, knows he's waiting for her to break or run or do something that justifies putting her on that plane and making her someone else's problem. She refuses to give him the satisfaction. By the end of the first week, she can throw a proper cross without Gideon correcting her form. By the end of the second week, she can run 3 miles without stopping. By the end of the third week, she can hit a target at 20 yards with Gideon's Glock 9 times out of 10. The 10th shot still bothers her, but Gideon says that's good. The day you stop being bothered by missing is the day you stop improving, he tells her. They're in the gun range, another underground facility that smells like cordite and cold concrete. Celine reloads and empties the magazine into the paper target. 9 center mass, 1 shoulder. Gideon nods. Better? Again. She reloads. Fires. 10 center mass. Now you're showing off. Is that bad? Depends. You showing off for you or for an audience? Celine glances at the observation window above the range. The glass is one way, but she knows someone's up there. She felt eyes on her the whole session. Does it matter? She asks. Everything matters. Motivation, discipline, fear, anger, all of it affects your performance. Gideon takes the gun from her and sets it on the bench. Why are you doing this? Real answer. Celine strips off her ear protection and thinks about the question. The real answer.
I'm tired of being afraid, she says finally. Fear's not the enemy. Fear keeps you alive. What you're tired of is being helpless. Same thing. Not even close. Gideon crosses his arms. Fear makes you careful. Helplessness makes you careless. One keeps you breathing, the other gets you killed. Then I'm tired of being helpless. Better. Now do something about it. Out. He hands her the gun again, and Celine spends another hour turning paper targets into confetti, while Gideon corrects her grip, her stance, her breathing. When they're done, her hands smell like gunpowder, and her ears are ringing despite the protection. She's never felt more in control of anything in her life. They're walking back through the basement corridor when Lucien appears from a side hallway. He's in a suit again, charcoal gray, no tie, looking like he stepped out of a magazine spread on dangerous men in expensive clothes. His eyes go to Celine, then to Gideon. How is she? He asks, like she's not standing right there. Getting better. Another month and she'll be competent enough not to shoot herself. Gideon's expression doesn't change. You need something? The USB drive decryption is complete. Lucien's gaze shifts back to Celine. You need to see this. The war room feels different this time. More urgent. More dangerous. Vincent is there. Lucien's second in command, a lean man with dark eyes, and the kind of stillness that comes from being very good at violence. 3 other men Celine doesn't recognize stand around the conference table, all of them armed, all of them watching her like she's evidence in a trial that could get them all killed. Lucien gestures to the main screen. Show her. Vincent taps a keyboard and the screen fills with documents, spreadsheets, emails, contracts. Celine recognizes Damien's company letterhead, recognizes his signature at the bottom of purchase orders for equipment that has nothing to do with medical supplies. Your husband was selling classified surveillance drones to the Moretti Circle, Lucien says. The technology allows real-time tracking of targets anywhere in the world, satellite integration, facial recognition, thermal imaging, the kind of equipment that makes someone untouchable if they control it. Celine's stomach turns. How much? 40 million per unit. He sold 8 over the past 6 months. Lucien zooms in on a spreadsheet. $320 million, half of which was laundered through offshore accounts connected to 16 different politicians, 4 defense contractors, and 2 federal judges. The numbers blur together. Celine has to sit down. The USB drive contains transaction records, Vincent adds, wire transfers, email confirmations, video recordings of meetings between Damien and Moretti leadership. If this goes public, it doesn't just destroy the circle. It brings down half the government with it. Which is why they killed him, Celine says quietly. Exactly. Lucien turns off the screen. And why they'll kill anyone who has access to this information. Meaning me. Meaning you. Celine looks at the blank screen.
at the men standing around the table, at Lucien watching her with those silver eyes that miss nothing. "What do you want from this?" she asks him. "Information? Leverage? Revenge?" Lucien is quiet for a long moment. Then he says something that changes everything. "I want to burn the Moretti Circle to the ground. I want every politician on that list exposed. I want the weapons recovered and the technology destroyed. And I want everyone who profited from this to pay for it in blood or prison, preferably both." Why? Because I'm a criminal, but I'm not a traitor. And selling military weapons to cartels and terrorists crosses a line even I won't touch. The conviction in his voice is absolute. Whatever Lucien Vale is, monster, kingpin, murderer, he believes what he's saying with every cell in his body. "What do you need me to do?" Celine asks. "Nothing. You've already given us the drive. That's enough." He nods at Gideon. "Put her on the next transport to the Montana safe house. New identity, new life. She disappears, and the circle forgets she exists." "No." Every man in the room turns to look at her. Lucien's expression hardens. This isn't negotiable. "You're right. It's not. Because I'm not leaving." Celine stands up, even though her ribs protest. "That drive came from my house, my marriage, my life. Damien used me as cover for 6 years while he sold weapons to murderers. I'm not running from this." "You're a civilian with 3 weeks of basic training. You'll be a liability." "Then make me an asset." She meets his eyes and doesn't look away. "You wanted to know why Damien tried to kill me?" "Because I saw things I wasn't supposed to see. Because I asked questions I wasn't supposed to ask. Because I stopped being convenient and became dangerous. Well, now I know what I know, and I'm done being convenient. So either teach me how to be dangerous or get out of my way." Silence falls over the war room like a shroud. Vincent is the first one to speak. "I like her." One of the other men makes a sound that might be agreement. Gideon just watches with that same flat expression he always wears when things are about to get interesting. Lucien stares at Celine for so long she thinks he might actually throw her out. Then he does something she doesn't expect. He smiles. It's not a kind smile. It's the smile of a predator recognizing another predator. "Fine," he says. "You want to be dangerous? Vincent will teach you intelligence gathering. Marcus will teach you how to blend in and disappear. Gideon will continue your combat training, and I'll teach you how to think like someone who doesn't play by rules." He takes a step closer, but understand this. If you commit to this path, there's no going back. You'll see things that will change you, do things that will haunt you, cross lines that can't be uncrossed. And when it's over, you won't be the woman who got beaten in an alley. You'll be someone else entirely, someone you might not recognize. Celine thinks about the woman she was a month ago, the woman who apologized when her husband hit her, who stayed quiet when he insulted her, who believed she deserved the bruises and the cruelty and the slow death of her soul. That woman died in the alley. Someone new is standing here now. "Good," Celine says. "I hated who I was." Lucien holds her gaze for one more heartbeat. Then he turns to his men. "Get her up to speed. We move against the circle in 2 weeks." 2 weeks turns into a countdown written in sweat and blood. Celine wakes at 5 a.m. every morning now. Not because anyone forces her to, because her body won't let her sleep past that point anymore. 3 hours of combat training with Gideon before the sun comes up. Strikes until her knuckles split. Grappling until her ribs scream. Weapons drills until she can field strip a Glock blindfolded in under 30 seconds. Then breakfast with Vincent, who teaches her how to read people the way most people read street signs, how to spot a lie in the way someone holds their coffee cup, how to memorize faces in a crowd and track movement patterns without looking like you're watching, how to become invisible by being exactly what people expect to see. "You're too pretty," Vincent tells her over eggs and black coffee on the 3rd day. "People remember pretty. You need to be forgettable." "How do I do that?" "Stop caring what they think. Pretty is confidence. Forgettable is indifference." He slides a photo across the table. A woman in her 30s. Plain. Unremarkable. The kind of face you see and forget immediately. That's you in 48 hours. Different hair, different clothes, different energy. Practice in the mirror until you believe it. Celine studies the photo. The woman looks defeated. tired. Like the world broke her a long time ago and she's just going through the motions. She knows that face. She wore it for 6 years. I can do that, she says quietly. I know you can. That's the problem. Vincent's dark eyes bore into her. This job requires you to put on masks and take them off. Most people lose themselves in the process. They forget which face is real. Don't be most people. Afternoons belong to Marcus, a thin man in his 50s with nervous hands and the sharpest mind Celine has ever encountered. He teaches her dead drops and counter surveillance, how to lose a tail, how to communicate without words, how to memorize extraction routes and safe houses, and the exact locations of security cameras in every building they might need to infiltrate. Information is ammunition, Marcus says while walking her through a 3D model of a Moretti warehouse on the waterfront. Every camera angle, every guard rotation, every exit. You don't go into a battlefield without knowing where the bullets come from. Same rules apply here. Evenings are supposed to be rest. Instead, Celine finds herself in the library at midnight, cross-referencing names from the USB drive with public records, building a mental map of who owes who and where the bodies are buried. Literally and figuratively. She still doesn't see much of Lucien. He's always somewhere else. On the phone in his office with the door closed, meeting with men who arrive in expensive cars and leave looking worried. Orchestrating something massive that no one will explain to her because she's still the outsider, still the victim they're protecting instead of the weapon they're building. It makes her want to break something. On day 9, she does. Gideon has her running drills in the gun range. Moving targets, low light, simulated stress conditions with strobe lights and white noise blasting through speakers. She's supposed to clear 6 targets in under 10 seconds. She gets 5. Again, Gideon says. She reloads, runs it again. 5. Again, but 5. Again, 4 this time because her hands are shaking and her vision is blurring and something hot is building behind her ribs that has nothing to do with old injuries. Stop. No. Celine reloads with fingers that won't cooperate. The magazine slips, clatters to the floor. She stares at it lying there on the concrete and something inside her just snaps. She grabs the gun and throws it. The weapon hits the wall and discharges. The round punches through drywall 6 inches from Gideon's head. He doesn't flinch. Celine does. She stares at what she just did, at how close she came to killing the one person who's been honest with her since this nightmare started. I'm sorry, she whispers. No, you're not. You're angry. Gideon walks over and picks up the gun, checks it, sets it on the bench. That's good. Anger's useful. But if you can't control it, it controls you, and controlled anger gets you killed. I can't do this. Yes, you can. I just almost shot you. Almost doesn't count. You didn't. That's what matters. He crosses his arms. What's really wrong? Celine's throat closes. She wants to say nothing, wants to pretend she's fine, wants to be the person who doesn't break under pressure. But the words come out anyway. I don't know what I'm doing. Everyone here is a professional. Soldiers, criminals, people who've been doing this their whole lives. And I'm just some housewife who got beat up and somehow convinced everyone she's capable of fighting back when really I'm just scared, Gideon finishes. Yeah, I know. Everyone's scared their first time. Difference is most people run from it. You're running toward it. That takes a different kind of courage. Or stupidity. Sometimes there's no difference. He picks up the gun and hands it back to her. Load it. We're going again. Gideon. Load it. She loads it. This time when she runs the drill, she gets all 6 targets in 9 seconds. When she turns around, Lucien is standing in the observation window above the range, just watching. His face is unreadable through the glass, but she feels the weight of his attention like a physical thing. He disappears before she can react. He's been watching you for days, Gideon says quietly. I know. Does it bother you? Celine thinks about the question, about being watched, about being evaluated, about being seen as something other than convenient or inconvenient, just seen. No, she says, it doesn't. Gideon makes that sound that might be approval again. Good, because he's not going to stop. Dad. On day 11, Lucien finally speaks to her. It's past midnight. Celine is in the library again, surrounded by files and photographs and evidence of crimes so massive they make her head hurt. She's cross-referencing offshore account numbers when she hears footsteps behind her. She doesn't turn around. She knows his walk. Measured. Deliberate. The kind of footsteps that don't announce themselves unless he wants them to. "You should be sleeping," Lucian says. "So should you." He walks around to the other side of the desk and sits in the leather chair across from her. He's in black pants and a white dress shirt with the sleeves rolled to his elbows. No jacket, no tie. He looks tired. Actually tired. Like the weight of whatever empire he's holding together is finally starting to crush him. "What are you working on, he asks. Celine slides a photograph across the desk. It shows a man in his 60s. Silver hair. Expensive suit. Shaking hands with Damien at what looks like a charity gala. Senator Morrison, he's on 12 different wire transfers totaling $8 million, but none of the transfers match the dates of any weapons deliveries. They're all 2 to 3 days late. Lucian picks up the photo, studies it. Interesting. What does that tell you? That he wasn't buying weapons. He was buying silence. Good. What else? That Damien had leverage on him. Something worth $8 million to bury. Better. Keep going. Celine pulls out another file. Morrison chairs the Senate Armed Services Committee. He has direct oversight on classified defense contracts. If Damien was selling surveillance drones, he needed someone to approve the export licenses and look the other way when the equipment disappeared. And in exchange, Damien probably had evidence of Morrison doing something that would end his career. Affair, bribery, something personal enough to make him compliant. Lucian sets down the photo and looks at her with something that might be respect. Vincent was right. You're a natural at this. At what? Connecting dots? At seeing patterns other people miss. At understanding how corruption works. How people sell their integrity, one compromise at a time until they don't recognize themselves anymore. He leans back in his chair. That's a rare skill. Most people don't want to see how ugly the world really is. I've been living with ugly for 6 years. This is just a different flavor. Is it? Lucian's eyes pin her to the chair. Your husband hit you, degraded you, made you feel worthless, but he never asked you to become something you're not. This world will. It'll ask you to lie, manipulate, hurt people who might not deserve it in service of a greater goal. That's not the same as surviving abuse. That's choosing to become the thing you're afraid of. The words hang in the air like smoke. Celine holds his gaze. Are you trying to scare me? I'm trying to give you one last chance to walk away before you cross a line you can't uncross. Why? Because you feel responsible for me? No. Because I recognize you. Lucien stands up and walks to the window overlooking the ocean. 10 years ago, I was a mid-level enforcer for a crew in Boston. Good at my job, loyal, stupid enough to believe loyalty meant something. Then my boss decided I knew too much and tried to have me killed. I survived, barely. Spent 6 months in a hospital bed planning my revenge. He turns to look at her. When I got out, I didn't just kill him. I dismantled everything he built. Took his territory, his money, his reputation. I became the thing he feared most. And in the process, I became something I didn't recognize. Someone capable of brutality I didn't know I had in me. Someone who can order a man's death over breakfast and not lose my appetite. His voice stays level, but there's something underneath it. Something raw and damaged that he usually keeps buried. I see that same transformation starting in you, he continues. And I don't know if I'm saving you or destroying you by letting it happen. Celine stands up and crosses to where he's standing. Up close, she can see the exhaustion in his face, the faint scar along his jaw, the way his eyes don't quite meet hers, like he's afraid of what he'll see if he looks too close. You didn't let anything happen, she says quietly. I chose this. I'm still choosing this. Every morning when I wake up at 5 a.m. and my body is screaming at me to stop. Every time Gideon makes me run a drill until I can't feel my hands. Every time Vincent shows me how to lie with a straight face. I'm choosing this because the alternative is spending the rest of my life being afraid of my own shadow. And when this is over? When the Moretti circle is destroyed and there's no more enemies to fight? What then? I don't know, but at least I'll be someone who fought back instead of someone who just survived. Lucien looks at her for a long moment. Then he does something that stops her heart.
He reaches out and touches her face, just fingertips against her cheekbone where the bruises have finally faded to nothing. The touch is gentle, careful, like he's afraid she'll break. "You're not what I expected," he says softly. "What did you expect?" "Someone who needed saving, someone grateful and compliant and easy to control." His thumb brushes against her jaw. "Instead, I got someone who throws guns at walls and volunteers for suicide missions. It's inconvenient." The word hits like a knife. Celine goes very still. "Don't use that word."
"Why not? It's true. You're inconvenient. You complicate everything. My plans, my strategies, my carefully constructed emotional distance." His hand drops away. "You make me want things I gave up on wanting years ago." "Like what?" "Like believing someone can look at what I am and not run." The confession hangs between them like a live wire. Celine knows she should step back, should maintain the distance, should remember that Lucien Vale is a criminal kingpin who has killed people and will kill again, and getting close to him is dangerous in ways that have nothing to do with the Moretti Circle. She steps closer instead. "I'm looking," she says, "and I'm not running." Lucien's jaw tightens. For a second, she thinks he's going to close the distance, thinks he's going to kiss her or push her away or do something to break the tension crackling between them like electricity. Instead, his phone rings. He pulls back and answers it. "What?" His expression shifts, goes cold, dangerous. "When?" Pause. "How many?" Another pause. "Lock down the estate. No one in or out until I say otherwise." He ends the call and looks at Selene with eyes that have gone completely arctic. "The Moretti Circle just hit 3 of my warehouses simultaneously, killed 18 of my people, left a message written in their blood." "What kind of message?" "That they know you're here, and they're coming for both of us." "Not." The estate transforms into a fortress within the hour. Armed guards on every floor. Steel shutters descending over windows. Security protocols that turn the house into a labyrinth of locked doors and biometric scanners. Celine watches from the war room as Vincent coordinates defensive positions like he's planning for a siege. Which he is. "They won't hit us directly," Vincent says, studying security feeds. "Too risky. Too many variables. But they'll try to draw us out. Make us think we have the advantage. And then spring the trap." "So we don't take the bait," Lucien says. "We don't have a choice. Every hour we stay locked down here is an hour they use to fortify their positions. We move against them in 2 days, or we lose the element of surprise entirely. Then we move in 2 days. We're not ready. We're never ready. Ready is a myth sold to people who want guarantees." Lucien turns to Gideon. "How's she progressing?" Gideon looks at Celine. She can shoot, fight, think under pressure, but she's not a soldier. She's never seen real combat. First time she watches someone die in front of her, she might freeze, might panic, might get herself or someone else killed. "So we keep her off the assault team." "No," Celine says. Every man in the room turns to look at her. "I'm going," she continues. "You said I could be dangerous. Prove it. Put me on the team." Vincent shakes his head. "This isn't a training exercise. We're hitting a fortified compound with professional security, ex-military, ex-intelligence, people who kill for a living. You'll be a liability." "Then make me an asset." Celine steps forward. "I know Damien's security protocols. He used the same company the Moretti Circle uses. Same equipment, same procedures. I can help you get inside." "How?" Lucian's voice is sharp. "Damien had panic codes. Sequences that override all security systems in case of emergency. He made me memorize them in case something happened to him, and I needed to get into his files." She meets Lucian's eyes. "I never forgot them. And I'm betting the Moretti Circle uses the same company defaults Damien did. Arrogant people always do." Vincent and Gideon exchange looks. Lucien goes very still. "If you're wrong, you die. We all die." "Then I better not be wrong." Silence drops over the room like a hammer. Then Lucien smiles that predator smile. "Fine. You're on the team, but you follow orders. You stay in formation. And if I tell you to run, you run. Understood?" "Understood, oh." "Good. Vincent, pull the security specs for the Moretti compound. Cross-reference with Damien's company protocols. If she's right, we'll know within the hour." He turns to Gideon. "Double her combat training. She has 48 hours to go from competent to lethal. Make it happen. On it. The meeting breaks up. Men scatter to their assignments. Celine is halfway to the door when Lucien's voice stops her. Celine. She turns. He's standing at the head of the table, hands braced on the surface, looking at her with an expression she can't read. If this goes wrong, he says quietly, if you die because I let you on this team, then I die doing something I chose. That's more than most people get. That's not comforting. It's not supposed to be. It's just true. She leaves before he can respond. The next 48 hours are a blur of violence and preparation. Gideon doesn't hold back anymore. He treats her like a soldier instead of a civilian. They drill room-clearing tactics in a mock-up of the Moretti compound built in the estate's basement. She learns how to move in formation, how to use cover, how to distinguish targets from civilians in split-second decisions that mean life or death. Hesitation kills, Gideon says while running her through a scenario for the 20th time. You see a threat, you neutralize it. You don't think, you don't evaluate, you act. Celine fires. The target drops. She moves to the next position. Another target, another shot. Move. By hour 36, her hands are blistered. Her shoulder is bruised from recoil. Her ears ring constantly despite the protection. But she's hitting targets without thinking, clearing rooms without freezing, moving like she's been doing this for years instead of weeks. You're ready, Gideon says after the final drill. How do you know? Because you stopped asking if you're ready. Confidence is half the battle. You've got that now. And the other half? Not dying. We'll work on that during the actual operation. Despite everything, Celine almost laughs. That night she can't sleep. She lies in bed staring at the ceiling while her mind runs through every possible scenario, every way this can go wrong, every moment where one mistake could cost lives. She's still awake at 3 a.m. when her door opens. Lucien stands in the doorway, backlit by hall light, silent. Can't sleep either? Celine asks. No. Want to talk about it? No. He steps into the room and closes the door behind him. I want to make sure you understand what you're walking into tomorrow. I understand. Do you? Because once we breach that compound, there's no calling time out, no do-overs. People will try to kill you. You'll have to kill them first. Can you do that? Celine sits up. I don't know. I've never killed anyone. But you've thought about it. I see it in your eyes during training, that moment when you stop seeing targets and start seeing the people who hurt you. The people who made you feel small and worthless and afraid. That's who you'll be killing tomorrow. Not for me, not for revenge, for you, because you're done being the victim. The words cut through her like a blade. How did you know? She asks quietly. Because I did the same thing. Every person I killed in the beginning had my old boss's face. It's how you survived the first time. By making it personal. By making it about something bigger than fear. He crosses to the bed and sits on the edge. Up close she can see he's as exhausted as she is, maybe more, carrying the weight of 18 dead soldiers and a war he never wanted but can't walk away from. I need to know you're not doing this for me, he says, not to prove something or earn my approval or because you think you owe me for saving your life. I need to know you're doing this because it's what you want. Celine looks at him, really looks. At the scars and the exhaustion and the brutal honesty that most people can't handle. I'm doing this because 3 months ago I was a woman who apologized when her husband hit her, who believed she deserved the abuse because she wasn't good enough or pretty enough or submissive enough, who thought her only value was in being convenient. She reaches out and takes his hand. His skin is warm, rough, real. Tomorrow, I'm going to walk into that compound and fight alongside people who see me as an equal. Not property, not collateral, an equal. That's worth dying for. Lucien's fingers close around hers. You're not going to die. You can't promise that. Watch me. He stands up but doesn't let go of her hand. Get some sleep. We move at dawn. Lucienne. He stops. Thank you for seeing me, for giving me this chance, for not putting me on that plane to Montana. His expression softens just slightly. You're welcome. Now sleep. He leaves. The door clicks shut behind him. Celine lies back down and closes her eyes. This time, sleep comes. Babati Jaki. Peace. Dawn breaks cold and gray over the ocean. Celine stands in the armory wearing tactical gear that fits her like a second skin. Black pants, reinforced vest, boots that go to her knees. Her hair is tied back in a tight braid. Her face is clean. No makeup, no jewelry. Just her and the Glock holstered at her thigh, and the knife strapped to her calf. She looks in the mirror and doesn't recognize herself. That's good. She doesn't want to. Vincent briefs the team one last time. 12 operators, including Celine. All former military or intelligence. All lethal. All looking at her like she's a liability they have to work around instead of an asset. She doesn't blame them. Primary objective is elimination of Moretti leadership, Vincent says, pointing to photos on the screen. Salvatore Moretti, his brother Carlo, his lieutenant Vega. All three need to be confirmed dead before we extract. Secondary objective is recovery of any remaining surveillance equipment. Tertiary is getting everyone out alive. What about the USB drive evidence? Someone asks. Doesn't matter if we're all dead. Priorities are clear. Questions? No one speaks. Good. We move in 15 minutes. Final weapons check. Say your prayers if you've got them. And remember. The explosion cuts him off. The entire building shakes. Alarms scream. Emergency lighting kicks on. Celine is thrown against the wall as the floor tilts, and she realizes with cold horror what's happening. They're under attack. North wall breach, someone shouts through the comms. Multiple hostiles. They're inside the perimeter. Gunfire erupts somewhere above them. Close. Too close. Vincent's face goes white. They're hitting us first. They knew we were moving today. How? Gideon already has his weapon up, moving toward the stairs. Doesn't matter. We're compromised. Fall back to secondary positions. Protect Lucien and get him to the safe room. Another explosion. Closer this time. The lights go out. Emergency generators kick in, but it's too late. Celine can hear boots pounding through the corridors, voices shouting in languages she doesn't understand, the distinct crack, crack, crack of automatic weapons tearing through walls. Gideon grabs her arm. Stay with me. We're getting you out. What about Lucien? He can handle himself. Move. They're halfway up the stairs when the door above them explodes inward. 3 men in black tactical gear come through the opening, weapons raised. Gideon fires first. 2 shots. 2 bodies. The third man returns fire and Celine feels something hot slice across her shoulder. Not a direct hit. Graze. But it burns like acid and her arm goes numb. She drops to one knee, raises her Glock, fires. The man's head snaps back. He drops. She just killed someone. There's no time to process it. No time to feel anything except the adrenaline screaming through her veins and Gideon pulling her to her feet and more footsteps pounding toward them from every direction. They burst into the main hallway and it's chaos. Vincent's team is engaged with at least 20 hostiles. Muzzle flash strobes the darkness. Bullets punch through drywall. Someone is screaming. Someone else is gurgling through a throat shot. Where's Lucien? Celine shouts over the noise. War room. He's pinned down. Gideon moves toward the stairs, but 3 more hostiles round the corner. He kills one, wounds another. The third gets close enough for hand to hand, and suddenly Gideon is grappling with a man built like a tank who has a knife and bad intentions. Celine sees another hostile moving up behind Gideon, sees the gun rising, sees the finger on the trigger. She doesn't think, she fires. 3 rounds center mass. The hostile drops. Gideon breaks the tank's neck and turns to her. Good shot, now move. They fight their way through the estate. Every corridor is a battlefield. Every room could hide an ambush. Celine's training kicks in on autopilot. She clears corners, uses cover, fires when targets present themselves, and doesn't freeze when they fall. She's killed 4 people by the time they reach the war room. The door is reinforced steel, locked from the inside. Gideon pounds on it. It's us! Open up! The lock disengages. The door swings open. Lucien is inside with 2 of his men. One of them is bleeding from a leg wound. The other is reloading with hands that shake. Lucien's eyes go straight to Celine, to the blood on her shoulder. You're hit. It's nothing. It's not nothing. It's nothing, she's shouting now. Doesn't mean to, but can't stop. We need to get out of here before they bring the whole building down. As if summoning it, another explosion rocks the foundation. Dust rains from the ceiling. The lights flicker. Vincent's voice crackles through the comms. East wing is gone. Fire spreading to the main structure. We have maybe 5 minutes before this place becomes an oven. All units extract to Rally Point Beta. Lucien, if you can hear me, get the hell out. Lucian moves to the weapons locker and starts pulling out rifles. We're not running. If they want a war, we'll give them one. That's suicide, Gideon says. So is running straight into their kill zone. They have the exits covered. They have numbers. They have surprise. Lucian racks around into the chamber. But they're inside our house now. We know every hallway, every room, every weakness. We turn this into an ambush. He looks at Celine. Can you still fight? Her shoulder is on fire. Her hands are shaking. She's killed 4 human beings in the last 10 minutes, and she can still see their faces when she closes her eyes. Yes, she says. Then let's remind these bastards why people fear my name. They move out in formation. Lucien takes point. Gideon covers the rear. Celine stays in the middle, fighting down nausea and terror, and something else she can't name. Something cold and sharp that feels like glass in her veins. They make it 2 corridors before the ambush hits. Gunfire from above. Hostiles on the second-floor balcony raining lead down on them. Lucien's soldier with the leg wound goes down immediately. Headshot. Dead before he hits the floor. Celine fires back, empties her magazine into the balcony, sees bodies jerk and fall. Reloads. Fires again. Something inside her has gone quiet. The fear is still there, but it's distant now, locked behind glass. All that's left is the training and the muscle memory and the cold understanding that she's in a kill-or-die situation and dying isn't acceptable. They fight room to room, floor to floor. The estate is burning around them. Smoke fills the hallways. Visibility drops to nothing. Celine is coughing so hard she can barely breathe, but she keeps moving, keeps shooting, keeps surviving. Then they reach the main foyer and she sees him. Salvatore Moretti himself, 70s, silver hair, expensive suit, somehow still immaculate despite the carnage. He's standing at the bottom of the grand staircase with 6 armed men flanking him. He sees Lucien and smiles. Vale, I was hoping you'd make it this far. Would have been disappointing to burn you alive without a proper goodbye. Lucien raises his rifle. Salvatore, didn't expect you to handle your own wet work. Thought you paid people for that. Some things require a personal touch. Salvatore's eyes slide to Celine. And you must be the little ghost who refuses to stay dead. Damien spoke very poorly of you, said you were weak, useless, couldn't even die properly when instructed. Something hot and violent surges through Celine's chest. Damien was wrong about a lot of things, she says. Clearly, Salvatore gestures and his men raise their weapons. I'll make you a deal, Vale. Give me the woman and the USB drive evidence, and I'll let you walk out of here. Clean slate. No more war. You go back to running your little criminal empire and pretend none of this happened. And if I refuse? Then everyone in this building dies, including her, especially her. Lucien doesn't hesitate. No deal, Salvatore sighs. I was afraid you'd say that. The world explodes into violence. Salvatore's men open fire. Lucien and Gideon return it. Celine dives behind a marble column as bullets chew through stone and air where her head was a second earlier. She can hear someone screaming. Realizes it's her. Doesn't care. She leans out and fires. Hits one of Salvatore's men in the shoulder. He spins. Drops. Gideon takes out 2 more with quick controlled bursts, but there are too many. More hostiles pouring in from the side corridors. The second floor balconies. Every angle. They're surrounded. Lucien looks at Gideon. Some wordless communication passes between them. Then Lucien grabs Celine's arm and pulls her toward a door hidden behind a tapestry. Emergency tunnel. Leads to the garage. Go. What about you? I'll hold them here. Buy you time. Like hell. Celine rips her arm free. I'm not leaving you. Lucien's face goes hard. This isn't a discussion. You die here, and everything we fought for means nothing. The evidence dies with you. Damien wins. The Moretti Circle wins. Is that what you want? I want to fight. Then fight by surviving. He shoves her toward the door. Gideon, get her out of here. That's an order. Gideon doesn't argue. He grabs Celine and physically drags her through the hidden door. She fights him, screams, claws at his arms. Watches Lucien turn back to face the incoming wave of hostiles with his rifle raised and that same cold expression he wore when he pulled her out of the alley. The door slams shut. She can still hear the gunfire through the walls. Move, Gideon shouts. The tunnel is narrow. Dark. Smoke is starting to filter through cracks in the walls. They run. Celine's shoulder is bleeding again. Her lungs burn. Every step feels like running through concrete. They burst out into the underground garage. 3 cars are waiting, black SUVs with engines already running. Vincent is there with 2 other survivors, both wounded, one barely conscious. "Where's Lucien?" Vincent demands. "Buying us time," Gideon says. "We need to go. Now." "We can't leave him." "He gave an order. We follow it." They pile into the SUVs. Tires scream. They're racing up the exit ramp when the entire estate shudders. Celine looks back through the rear window and sees flames erupting through the roof. Black smoke billowing into the dawn sky. Somewhere in that inferno, Lucien Vale is still fighting, or dying, or already dead. The SUV hits the street, accelerates. Buildings blur past. Vincent is on the phone coordinating with whoever's left of their network. Gideon is doing first aid on the unconscious operative. Nobody is looking at Celine. She stares at her hands, at the blood, at the gun still clutched in her grip, even though her fingers have gone numb. She killed people today. How many? 6? 8? She lost count. She watched people die. Watched Lucien's soldier take a bullet to the head. Watched the estate burn with people still inside. And she survived. She's still here, still breathing, still breathing when she shouldn't be. The safe house is 40 miles outside the city in the mountains where cell service dies and civilization is just a memory. It's a cabin that looks abandoned from the outside, but the interior is all reinforced walls and surveillance equipment and enough weapons to arm a small militia. Vincent pulls the SUV into a concealed garage and kills the engine. Nobody speaks. They sit in the silence, listening to the tick of cooling metal and their own ragged breathing. The wounded operative in the back hasn't moved in 20 minutes. Celine checks his pulse. Nothing. She closes his eyes and turns away before anyone can see her face. That makes 9 people she's watched die today. "We need to move him," Gideon says quietly. Later. Vincent is staring at his phone even though there's no signal. His hands are shaking. "We need to know if Lucien made it out." "He didn't." The words come from Celine, flat, empty, true. Vincent's head snaps up. "You don't know that." "Yes, I do. You saw the fire, the explosion, the number of hostiles. Nobody makes it out of that. Lucien Vale has survived worse. Not this time." Celine opens the car door and steps out into air so cold it burns her lungs. Her shoulder throbs. Her hands won't stop shaking. She walks into the cabin before anyone can stop her. Inside it smells like pine and dust and old violence. There's a kitchenette, a bathroom, 3 small bedrooms, a main room with a table covered in maps and a ham radio that probably hasn't worked in a decade. She stands in the center of it all and feels nothing. That's worse than feeling everything. Gideon comes in carrying the dead operative over his shoulder like a sack of grain. He takes the body to one of the bedrooms and closes the door. When he comes back, his face is carved from stone. "We need to talk about next steps," he says. "There are no next steps. We lost." Celine sits at the table. Her legs just give out. "The estate is gone. Half our people are dead. Lucien is dead. The Moretti Circle won. It's over. It's not over until we're all dead, or they are. Then it's over. Look at us. 3 people. 2 of them injured, against an entire syndicate with unlimited resources and a taste for blood. Do the math." Vincent walks in and throws his phone on the table hard enough to crack the screen. No signal. No contact with any of our remaining crews. For all we know, we're the only ones left. "What about the USB drive?" Gideon asks. "Encrypted backup on a secure server. But without Lucien's access codes, we can't get to it. And even if we could, what then? We leak it to the press? The same press that's controlled by half the people on that list? They'll bury it, discredit it, call it a hoax and move on." Celine stares at the table, at the maps showing the city divided into territories and zones of control, at the red X's marking Moretti strongholds, at the careful strategy that just got blown to hell along with everyone who believed in it. "We need to know if Lucien survived," she says quietly. "How?" "We can't go back to the estate. It's a crime scene by now. Police, fire department, probably federal investigators if the fire was hot enough to trigger their sensors. Then we wait for him to contact us." And if he doesn't? Celine meets Vincent's eyes. Then we finish what he started. With what? 3 people in a dream? Vincent's voice cracks. Lucien was the architect, the strategist, the one who held this entire operation together through sheer force of will. Without him, we're just... Still alive, Celine interrupts. Still armed, still angry. That has to count for something. Gideon makes a sound that might be agreement. Vincent just shakes his head and walks to the window overlooking the valley below. The sun is rising now, pale light filtering through trees. Somewhere down there, the city is waking up to news of a mansion fire and a gang war and bodies that will never be identified. Somewhere down there, Salvatore Moretti is celebrating. The thought makes Celine's hands curl into fists. I need air, she says, standing up too fast. The room tilts. Gideon catches her elbow. You need medical attention. That shoulder. I said I need air. She pulls free and walks outside. The mountain air is sharp and clean and nothing like the smoke-filled corridors of the burning estate. She stands on the porch, breathing in and out and trying to remember why she chose this, why she volunteered for this nightmare, why she thought she could be more than the woman who got beaten in an alley. Footsteps behind her. Gideon. He doesn't say anything, just stands there looking at the valley with eyes that have seen too many battles and survived too many wars. How do you do it? Celine asks. Keep going when everything falls apart? You find something worth surviving for. Then you protect it until you can't anymore. What if there's nothing left to protect? Then you become the thing people need protection from. He looks at her. That's what Lucien did. After his boss tried to kill him, he stopped trying to survive the world and started making the world survive him. And that worked for him? He built an empire, became untouchable, controlled everything he touched and destroyed everything he couldn't control. Gideon's expression doesn't change, but he was also the loneliest person I've ever met. Until you. The words hit like a punch. What does that mean? It means he saw something in you that reminded him of who he used to be, before the violence, before the empire, when he was just someone trying to survive. Gideon turns to face her fully. He cared about you. More than he should have. More than was safe. That's why he ordered me to get you out. He knew if you stayed, you'd die trying to save him. Celine's throat closes. I could have helped. No. You would have died, and he would have watched it happen. That would have broken him more than any bullet. He's not broken. He's dead. Maybe. Maybe not. Lucien Vale doesn't die easy. Before Celine can respond, Vincent appears in the doorway. His face is white. We have a problem. They follow him inside. He's got a laptop open on the table showing a news feed. The headline makes Celine's blood turn to ice. Billionaire industrialist survives assassination attempt. Below it, video footage of Salvatore Moretti being escorted out of Lucien's burning estate by federal agents. He's walking, talking, smiling for the cameras, playing the victim. He's claiming Lucien Vale tried to assassinate him during a legitimate business meeting, Vincent says, voice tight with rage. Says Vale was involved in illegal arms dealing and tried to kill him when he threatened to expose it. The feds are eating it up. They've issued warrants for Lucien and everyone associated with him. That's insane, Celine breathes. He attacked us. His people killed. Doesn't matter, he controls the narrative now. He has federal protection, immunity. He's untouchable. Gideon slams his fist on the table. So we're fugitives. Worse. We're terrorists. Anyone associated with Lucien Vale is now a domestic threat. Every law enforcement agency in the country will be looking for us. Vincent closes the laptop. We're burned, completely. Celine stares at the closed computer, at the reflection of her own face in the dark screen. She looks like a ghost, pale, hollow, dead inside. There has to be something we can do. There isn't. Game over. We lost. Vincent stands up. I'm calling in favors, getting us passports, new identities. We split up, disappear. Maybe in 5 years, when this blows over, we can... No. Both men turn to look at her. No? Vincent's voice is dangerous. You think you get a vote? You've been in this world for 3 weeks. I've been doing this for 15 years. I know when a fight is lost. Then you weren't paying attention. Celine stands up. Her shoulder screams, but she ignores it. Salvatore made a mistake. He went public. That means he's following rules now, federal protection, legal immunity. He thinks that makes him safe. It does make him safe. From legal prosecution. Not from us. She meets Vincent's eyes. He's going to have security, federal marshals. But he's also going to have a schedule. Public appearances, hearings. He'll be visible, accessible, vulnerable in ways he wouldn't be if he stayed underground. Gideon's expression shifts. You want to kill him in public? I want to kill him, period. Public or private. Doesn't matter. What matters is he thinks he won. That makes him arrogant. Arrogant people make mistakes. This is suicide, Vincent says flatly. So was staying in that burning estate. So was volunteering for this mission in the first place. I'm way past caring about suicide. Celine's voice is cold, controlled. Nothing like the woman who used to apologize for existing. Salvatore Moretti orchestrated my husband's murder, tried to have me killed, burned Lucien's estate with everyone inside. I'm done running. I'm done hiding. I'm going to kill him or die trying. You can help me or you can run, but I'm doing this. Silence crashes over the cabin. Then Gideon starts laughing. It's a harsh sound, bitter, but there's approval in it too. She's insane, he says to Vincent, but she's right. Running just delays the inevitable. They'll find us eventually, hunt us down one by one. At least this way we go out fighting. Vincent looks between them. His jaw works like he's chewing glass. Finally, he shakes his head. You're both going to get us killed. Probably, Celine agrees, but we'll take Salvatore with us. Vincent stares at her for a long moment. Then he opens the laptop again and pulls up a different screen. Federal court dockets, public schedules, news about upcoming hearings. Salvatore has a deposition scheduled in 3 days. Federal courthouse downtown. He'll have marshals, armored transport, the whole production. Vincent's fingers fly across the keyboard. Security will be tight, but not impenetrable. If we're smart, we won't be smart, Gideon interrupts. Smart would be running. We're going to be fast and brutal and gone before they know what hit them. That's not a plan. That's suicide with extra steps. You have a better idea? Vincent doesn't answer. They spend the next hour planning the impossible. Celine watches as Gideon and Vincent map out approaches and escape routes and a dozen contingencies that all end with them dead or captured. She should be afraid, should be second-guessing this choice. Instead, she feels calm, focused, clear. This is what she was meant to do, not survive, not hide, not become someone's property or collateral or inconvenience. She's digging through weapons in a locked cabinet when her phone buzzes. She freezes, pulls it out. Unknown number. She almost ignores it. Then she answers. Hello? Silence on the other end. Just breathing, labored, wet. Who is this? She asks. More breathing. Then a voice she recognizes, even though it sounds like it's coming through broken glass. Celine. Her heart stops. Lucienne? Don't say my name. His voice is barely a whisper, pain in every syllable. They're listening, always listening. Where are you? Are you hurt? We thought... I'm alive, barely. Doesn't matter. He coughs, and she hears liquid, blood. Listen carefully. Don't trust Vincent. The words don't make sense. What? Vincent. He's the leak. He's been feeding information to the Moretti Circle for months. That's how they knew about the assault. How they knew where to hit us. How Salvatore survived. Another wet cough. He's been playing both sides, waiting to see who wins before committing. Celine looks across the cabin at Vincent hunched over the laptop planning their suicide mission. Her mouth goes dry. You're wrong, she whispers into the phone. Vincent would never... I have proof. Audio recordings, wire transfers. Messages between him and Moretti lieutenants going back 6 months. Lucien's breathing gets worse. He's going to betray you. The second you're no longer useful, he'll hand you over to Salvatore and disappear. Then why is he here? Why didn't he run when he had the chance? Because you have value. You're a witness, evidence. As long as you're alive, you're leverage. He's keeping you close so he can sell you when the price is right. Lucien makes a sound that might be a laugh or a death rattle. Trust Gideon. No one else. Get somewhere safe. I'll contact you when... The line goes dead. Celine stares at the phone. Her hands are shaking. Her mind is racing. Vincent as a traitor. Vincent who saved her life. Vincent who fought beside them. Vincent who... She looks up and meets his eyes across the cabin. He knows. Somehow he knows she knows. His hand moves toward the gun on the table, but Gideon is faster. He has his weapon up and aimed at Vincent's head before anyone can breathe. "Don't," Gideon says quietly. Vincent freezes. "This isn't what it looks like." "Really? Because it looks like you're about to draw on us." Gideon's finger is on the trigger. Hands where I can see them. Slowly. Vincent raises his hands. His face is calm, too calm, like he's been expecting this. "Who was on the phone?" he asks Celine. "Lucien." "What did he tell you?" "That you're a traitor, that you've been feeding information to the Moretti circle, that you're going to sell me out the first chance you get." Vincent's jaw tightens. "And you believe him?" "I don't know what to believe anymore." "Then believe this." Vincent's voice is steady. "I've been with Lucien for 8 years, fought beside him, bled for him, built his empire with my own hands. You think I'd throw that away for Salvatore Moretti?" "Lucien has proof," Celine says. "Does he? Or does he have paranoia and conspiracy theories and the desperation of a dying man trying to explain how everything fell apart?" Vincent takes a step forward. Gideon's gun tracks him. "Think about it. Lucien survived an impossible assault, somehow escaped a burning building with hostile forces on every floor, and now he's calling you from an unknown number with accusations he can't back up. Doesn't that seem convenient?" "Stop talking," Gideon says. "Why? Because you don't want to hear the truth? That maybe Lucien isn't the genius strategist we thought he was? That maybe he got arrogant and sloppy and got people killed and now he needs someone to blame besides himself?" I said stop talking. "Make me." Vincent's eyes are hard. "You gonna shoot me, Gideon? Your partner? Your friend? Based on a phone call from a man who might not even be Lush? Who might be Moretti playing mind games to turn us against each other?" The words hang in the air like poison. Celine looks at Gideon. His face is unreadable, but his gun hand is steady. She looks at Vincent, at the man who pulled her out of a burning estate, who planned escape routes, who stayed when he could have run. "How do we know?" she asks. "How do we know who's telling the truth?" "You don't," Vincent says. "That's the point. That's how they win. They make you doubt everyone, even the people who've been fighting beside you." Gideon's finger tightens on the trigger. Last chance, gun on the table. Kick it over here. Vincent doesn't move. "If I do that, you'll kill me anyway. If I don't, you'll kill me now. Either way, I'm dead. So here's what's actually going to happen. I'm going to walk out that door. You're going to let me. And we're all going to forget this conversation ever happened." "Not a chance." "Then shoot me. But understand that when you do, you lose the only person who knows how to get to Salvatore. The security layouts, the guard rotations, the vulnerabilities in his federal protection detail, all of that walks out the door with me." Vincent's expression doesn't change. "So pull the trigger or put the gun down, but decide fast because we're wasting time." Celine can see the war happening behind Gideon's eyes. Training versus loyalty. Orders versus instinct. Trust versus paranoia. Then Gideon does something she doesn't expect. He lowers the gun. Vincent exhales slowly. Smart choice. Don't make me regret it. Gideon doesn't holster the weapon, just keeps it pointed at the floor. "You're staying where I can see you. No phones, no computers, no contact with anyone until we figure out what's true." "Fine. But that still leaves us with a problem." Vincent gestures at Celine. "Lucien contacted her. That means he's out there somewhere, which means he's either our greatest asset or our biggest liability. We need to find him before Salvatore does." "How?" Celine asks. "The call came from somewhere. Probably a burner phone, but it still pinged a tower. If I can access the carrier logs..." "No computers," Gideon reminds him. "Then we're blind. Is that what you want? To sit here in the dark while Lucien bleeds out somewhere and Salvatore consolidates power?" Vincent's voice rises. "We need information. We need to move. We need to, The window explodes inward. Glass everywhere. Something metal clangs on the floor. Celine sees the grenade and doesn't think. She grabs Gideon and pulls him toward the kitchen as the world turns white. The explosion tears through the cabin. Walls crack. Furniture disintegrates. The shockwave hits Celine like a truck, and she's airborne for a second that lasts forever before she hits something hard and everything goes dark. When she comes to, her ears are ringing so loud she can't hear anything else. Smoke fills the cabin, fire licking at the walls. She tries to move, but her body won't cooperate. Everything hurts. Everything. She turns her head and sees Gideon 3 feet away. Not moving. Blood on his face. She reaches for him. Her hand won't close right. Fingers won't bend. Gideon, she tries to say, but no sound comes out. Then she sees them. Men in black tactical gear pouring through the shattered window and broken door. 5, 6, more. All armed, all moving with the precision of professional soldiers. Moretti's people. They found them. One of them grabs her by the hair and drags her upright. She tries to fight. Her body is just dead weight. Another one zip ties her wrists behind her back. The plastic cuts into skin. She can feel blood. They drag Gideon up too. He's conscious but barely. One eye swollen shut, bleeding from somewhere she can't see. Then Vincent walks in through the front door. He's not tied up, not restrained. He's walking on his own with a phone to his ear. "Yes, sir," he says into the phone. Both of them alive. Gideon's injured, but he'll survive. The woman is intact. Pause. Understood. We're en route. He ends the call and looks at Celine. The expression on his face isn't triumph. It's not satisfaction. It's just tired. So tired. "I told you to trust no one," he says quietly. Celine stares at him. At the man who taught her how to read people, how to spot lies, how to become invisible. The man who just sold them out. Lucien was right, she whispers through the ringing in her ears. Lucien was desperate, and desperate men make accusations they can't prove. Vincent nods to one of the soldiers. "Load them up. Salvatore wants them alive." "Why?" Celine manages to ask. "Why betray us?" Vincent kneels down so they're eye level. "Because loyalty is a luxury for people who can afford it. I can't. Not anymore. Lucian's empire is burning. The Moretti circle is ascendant. I'm just smart enough to know which side of history I want to be on when this is over. You'll never be safe. Lucien will kill you. Lucien is dead. That phone call was me using voice modulation software and information only Lucien would know. I needed you to doubt yourself, to hesitate, to give me the opening I needed." He stands up. And it worked. The soldiers drag Celine and Gideon toward the door. She can see the SUV outside. More men. More guns. No escape. "What happens now?" she asks. Vincent looks at her with something that might be regret. "Now you answer Salvatore's questions. Tell him everything you know about Lucian's network, the safe houses, the bank accounts, the remaining soldiers, every piece of the empire that's still standing. And when you've told him everything, he'll decide if you're worth keeping alive or if you're just another loose end." "I won't talk." "Yes, you will. Everyone talks eventually. Pain has a way of making people honest." He nods to the soldiers. "Take them." They throw Celine into the back of the SUV. Gideon lands beside her. The doors slam. Engine starts. Through the window, she can see Vincent standing in front of the burning cabin, watching them drive away. His face is blank, emotionless, the face of a man who's made peace with his betrayal. The SUV accelerates down the mountain road. Celine tests the zip ties. Too tight. Her fingers are already going numb. She looks at Gideon. He's conscious now, both eyes open, blood still flowing from a cut above his eyebrow. "Can you move?" she whispers. "Some. Ribs are broken. Maybe a punctured lung. Hard to breathe. We need to get out of here." "How?" "We're zip-tied in a moving vehicle with armed hostiles and no weapons." "I don't know. But I'm not going to answer Salvatore's questions. I'm not going to give him Lucy Yen's network. And I'm not going to die in whatever basement they're taking us to." Gideon manages a smile, blood on his teeth. "You got a plan?" "Not even a little bit." "Good. Plans are overrated anyway." The SUV takes a turn too fast. Celine slides across the seat. Her shoulder hits the door and white-hot pain explodes through her arm. She gasps, bites down on her lip hard enough to taste blood. Through the front windshield, she can see the city coming into view, towers of glass and steel. Millions of people going about their lives completely unaware that somewhere in those streets a war is being fought over information and power and blood. Somewhere down there, Lucien might still be alive. Or he might be dead, and she's about to join him. Either way, Celine Mercer is done being afraid. She shifts position, works her bound hands toward her boot. There's a knife strapped to her calf. If she can just reach it, if she can just get her fingers on the handle. The zip tie cuts deeper. Blood makes her hands slick. She keeps trying, because the alternative is giving up, and she's way past that point. The SUV merges onto the highway heading into the city. 30 minutes until they reach wherever Salvatore is waiting. 30 minutes to find a way out. Celine closes her eyes and takes inventory. Broken shoulder, zip-tied hands. No weapons, no backup, no plan. But she's still breathing, still thinking, still dangerous in ways Salvatore Moretti hasn't figured out yet. She opens her eyes and meets Gideon's gaze. "Whatever happens," she says quietly, "thank you for teaching me how to fight back." Gideon's expression doesn't change. "Don't thank me yet. This isn't over." Feels over. It's not over until you stop breathing. And even then, he shifts position with a grunt of pain. Sometimes dead people cause more problems than living ones. The SUV hits a pothole. Celine's fingers brush against something cold. Metal. The knife handle. She almost smiles. Almost. Because she's learned that hope is just another weapon, and she's going to use every weapon she has. The city skyline grows larger through the windshield, glass towers reflecting morning sun. Somewhere in that maze of concrete and steel, Salvatore Moretti is waiting. Somewhere in that same maze, Lucien Vale might still be fighting, or bleeding, or dead. But Celine isn't thinking about Lucien right now. She's thinking about the knife against her calf, the zip ties around her wrists, the men in the front seat who haven't bothered to check if she's armed. She's thinking about the lessons Gideon taught her, the training Vincent gave her, the cold fury that Lucien recognized in her eyes that first night in the library. She's thinking about Damien's last words. "You became inconvenient," and Salvatore's confident smile when he called her weak. She's thinking about 6 years of apologies and bruises and slow death. She's thinking about the woman who died in that alley, and the woman who's about to be born in whatever hell they're driving toward. The SUV exits the highway. Surface streets now. Traffic lights. Pedestrians. Normal people living normal lives. Celine works her fingers closer to the knife. Closer. Her wrist is bleeding where the zip tie has cut through skin, but she doesn't stop. Can't stop. Won't stop. The blade is cold against her fingertips. She's got maybe 3 minutes before they arrive at their destination. 3 minutes to get free. 3 minutes to turn this kidnapping into something Salvatore Moretti will regret. 3 minutes to prove that the woman who survived her own murder isn't done fighting. Not even close. The SUV slows, turns into an underground parking garage. Darkness swallows them. Celine's fingers close around the knife handle, and she starts cutting. The knife cuts through plastic like it's paper. Celine works the blade back and forth, feeling the zip tie give way, strand by strand. Her wrists are slick with blood and sweat, making it harder to grip, but she doesn't stop. Can't stop. The SUV descends deeper into the parking garage. Fluorescent lights strobe past. Concrete pillars. Empty spaces. This isn't a public garage. It's private. Underground. The kind of place where screams don't carry and bodies disappear. The zip tie snaps. Her hands are free. She keeps them behind her back. Doesn't move. Doesn't breathe different. The soldiers in the front seat haven't noticed. They're focused on navigation, on radio chatter crackling through their comms, on reaching their destination intact. They have no idea they just made a fatal mistake. The SUV pulls into a bay and stops. Engine cuts. Silence except for the tick of cooling metal and distant ventilation hum. The driver opens his door, steps out. The passenger does the same. 4 more soldiers waiting outside, all armed, all watching the vehicle. 6 total, 7 if you count the one who stayed behind to guard them. Terrible odds. Celine has faced worse in the past 3 weeks. The rear door opens. A soldier reaches in to grab her. His hand closes on her arm and she moves. The knife comes around in a tight arc. buries itself in his throat just below the Adam's apple. Hot blood sprays across her face. The soldier makes a wet gurgling sound and drops. She's out of the vehicle before he hits the ground. The other soldiers react, but she's faster. Training kicking in. Muscle memory. She grabs the dead man's sidearm and fires. 2 shots. Center mass. Another soldier drops. Return fire. Bullets punch through air where her head was a second ago. She rolls. Comes up behind a concrete pillar. Fires blind around the corner. Hears someone scream. Gideon is out of the vehicle now. Zip tie is still intact, but he's using his body weight to slam into the nearest soldier. They go down together. Gideon can't use his hands, so he uses his head. A brutal headbutt that breaks the soldier's nose. Blood everywhere. Celine fires, covers him, drops another hostile, 3 left. They're retreating, taking cover, calling for backup on their radios. She can hear more boots pounding down stairwells, more voices, more weapons. They have maybe 30 seconds before this becomes a massacre. She sprints to Gideon, cuts his zip ties with the bloody knife. He grabs a fallen rifle and checks the magazine. "How many more?" he asks. His voice is rough, breathing labored. "Too many. We need to move." "Where?" "We're underground. Only way out is up, and they're coming from up." Celine looks around. Parking garage. Multiple levels. Access stairs at each corner. Service elevator at the far end. Ventilation shafts too small to crawl through. Emergency exits that probably trigger alarms. No good options. Then she sees the motorcycle. It's parked 3 spaces over. Black, expensive. Racing bike built for speed, not comfort. Keys probably with whoever owns it, but she doesn't need keys. "Can you hotwire that?" she asks Gideon. He follows her gaze. "Probably. Why?" "Because we're going to ride it straight through their line and up the exit ramp before they know what's happening." "That's insane. You have a better idea." He doesn't. They run for the bike. Celine provides cover fire. Gideon gets to work on the ignition. His fingers are shaking, ribs broken, breathing wrong, but his hands know what they're doing. Footsteps echo from the stairwell. Lots of them. At least a dozen soldiers pouring into the garage level. "Hurry," Celine says. "I'm hurrying." She fires. Drops 1 hostile, wounds another. Her magazine is almost empty. She ejects it, grabs a fresh one from the dead soldier's vest. Reloads. Fires. The bike engine roars to life. "Get on!" Gideon shouts. Celine throws herself onto the back, wraps her arms around Gideon's waist, feels him wince from the broken ribs, but he doesn't complain, just opens the throttle. The bike screams forward. Bullets chase them, punch through air. One grazes the rear tire but doesn't blow it. Gideon weaves between pillars like he's done this before. Maybe he has. Celine doesn't ask, just holds on and tries not to think about the 100 ways this can end badly. They hit the exit ramp doing 60. The bike's rear tire loses traction on the incline. Slides. Gideon corrects. They're still moving, still alive. More soldiers at the top of the ramp, blocking the exit, weapons raised. Gideon doesn't slow down. "Hold on!" Celine presses her face against his back and holds on like her life depends on it. Because it does. The bike hits the line of soldiers at 70 miles per hour. Men dive out of the way. One isn't fast enough. The bike clips him, and he spins away screaming. Then they're through. Daylight, street level, traffic. Gideon cuts into traffic without looking. Horns blare, tires screech. A taxi misses them by inches. He accelerates down the wrong side of the street, weaving, threading gaps that don't exist. Celine can hear sirens now, police or Moretti's people or both. Doesn't matter. They're moving, still alive, still dangerous. Gideon takes a corner so hard the bike's foot peg scrapes asphalt and throws sparks. Celine's shoulder screams where it hits his back, but she doesn't let go. They're in the financial district now. Glass towers, suited professionals, normal people living normal lives. "Where are we going?" she shouts over the engine. "I don't know." "We need a plan." "The plan is don't die. Everything else is negotiable." He takes another corner. They're heading toward the waterfront now. Industrial sector, warehouses, shipping containers. Fewer people. Fewer witnesses. Better for a firefight. Worse for hiding. Gideon's breathing is getting worse. Shallow, wet. She can feel blood soaking through his shirt. "You're hurt," she says. "I'm fine." "You're not fine, you're bleeding." Later, right now we need... The SUV comes out of nowhere, black, armored. It T-bones them at an intersection doing 50. The bike goes airborne. Celine loses her grip. She's flying, tumbling. The world spins, sky, ground, sky, ground. She hits asphalt hard enough to see stars, rolls, stops, can't breathe, can't move. Everything hurts. She forces herself up, looks for Gideon. He's 10 feet away, not moving. The bike is a twisted wreck between them. The SUV's doors are opening, soldiers pouring out. Celine reaches for her gun. It's not there. Lost in the crash. She looks around, sees it 6 feet away, crawls for it. Her body screams protest, but she keeps moving. A boot comes down on her hand, pins it to the ground. She looks up. Vincent. He's standing over her with a gun pointed at her head. His expression is calm, professional, like he's done this 1,000 times. Stay down, he says. Go to hell. He smiles. Already there. More soldiers surround Gideon. He's conscious, but barely. They drag him to his feet, zip-tie his hands again. One of them punches him in the ribs and he doubles over, gagging. Celine tries to get up. Vincent's boot presses harder on her hand. Bones grind. She gasps. I said stay down. Why? You're just going to kill us anyway.
Not me. Salvatore wants that pleasure for himself. Vincent removes his boot, grabs her by the hair, drags her upright. He's been waiting a long time for this. Don't disappoint him. They throw her into another SUV. Gideon lands beside her, blood on his face, in his mouth. His breathing sounds like broken glass. Sorry, he manages to whisper. For what? Getting us caught. Should have seen the ambush coming.
You got us out of the garage. That's more than I could have done. Celine looks at him, really looks. He's dying. Maybe not right now, but soon. Internal bleeding, punctured lung, broken everything. How bad is it? Bad enough. He coughs, blood on his lips. But I'm not dead yet. That's something. The SUV starts moving. Vincent sits in the passenger seat, on the phone again, probably reporting their capture to Salvatore, probably getting orders on where to take them, probably sealing their fate with every word. Celine tests the new zip ties. Tighter this time. No knife, no weapons, no escape. They drive for 20 minutes. Back into the city. Past the financial district into an older neighborhood. Brick warehouses converted to luxury condos. Trendy restaurants, art galleries. The kind of place where money launders itself through real estate and high culture. The SUV pulls up to a building that looks like it used to be a factory. 5 stories. Steel and glass. Security cameras on every corner. Armed guards at the entrance trying to look like doormen. This is Salvatore's headquarters. Has to be. They're dragged out of the vehicle, marched through the lobby. It's all marble and modern art and a receptionist who doesn't look up from her computer as 2 bloodied prisoners are escorted past her desk. Business as usual. The elevator goes up, 4th floor. The doors open to a hallway that smells like expensive cologne and old violence. More guards, more cameras, a set of double doors at the end. Vincent knocks. Come in, says a voice from inside. Cultured. Amused. Salvatore. The doors open. The room beyond is massive. Corner office with floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the city. Leather furniture. A desk that probably costs more than most people's cars. Artwork that belongs in museums. And in the center of it all, sitting behind that desk like a king on his throne, is Salvatore Moretti. He looks different than he did at the burning estate. Cleaner, more composed, wearing a charcoal suit that fits like it was made for him. Which it was. His silver hair is perfect. His hands are folded on the desk. His smile is warm and welcoming. He looks like someone's grandfather. Not a crime lord, not a murderer, just a successful businessman enjoying his golden years. The worst monsters always do. Celine Mercer, he says, standing up. Finally, I've been looking forward to this conversation. Go to hell, Celine says. Salvatore laughs, actually laughs, like she just told a joke. Spirited. I like that. Damien said you were broken, weak, but I'm seeing something different, something interesting. Damien was wrong about a lot of things. Clearly, he underestimated you. Fatal mistake. Literally. Salvatore walks around the desk, approaches her, studies her like she's a painting he's considering buying. You survived an attempted murder, infiltrated Lucian Vale's organization, learned to fight, to kill, became dangerous in ways your husband never imagined. That's impressive. He reaches out to touch her face. She jerks back. His smile widens. Still fighting. Good. I'd be disappointed if you made this easy. What do you want? Celine asks. Information, locations, names, the complete structure of what's left of Lucian Vale's criminal empire. He returns to his desk, sits, folds his hands again. You're going to tell me everything. Where the safe houses are, where the money is hidden, who's still loyal. Every piece of the puzzle that lets me dismantle what Lucian built and absorb it into my own operations. And if I refuse, then your friend dies. Salvatore nods toward Gideon. Slowly, painfully, while you watch. And when he's done screaming, we'll start on you. We'll keep you alive for days, weeks if necessary, breaking you piece by piece until you're begging to tell us everything just to make the pain stop. Celine looks at Gideon. His face is gray, blood on his lips, but his eyes are clear, focused, and they're telling her something. Don't talk. Don't give him anything. Let me die if you have to, but don't give him what he wants. She looks back at Salvatore. I don't know anything, she lies. Salvatore sighs. Disappointing. I was hoping you'd be smarter than this. He nods to one of the guards. Start with the broken ribs. Let's see how long her loyalty lasts when she's listening to him scream. The guard moves toward Gideon. Wait, Vincent says. Everyone turns to look at him. She doesn't know anything because Lucien never told her anything, Vincent continues. He was paranoid, compartmentalized everything. She was just a project to him, someone to protect and train but never trust with operational details. Salvatore's eyes narrow. Then she's useless. Not entirely. She's bait. For what? For Lucien. If he's still alive, he'll come for her. He cares about her, more than he should, more than is smart. We use her as leverage, draw him out, end this permanently. Salvatore considers this, then nods slowly. Interesting. And if he doesn't come? Then we kill her and move on. But at least we tried. Vincent looks at Celine, Marceau-Coussin. No emotion in his face, just cold calculation. It's the smart play. Very well. Salvatore stands. Take them to the holding cells. Keep them separated. No food, no water, no medical attention for the injured one. Let them think about their situation. In 48 hours, we'll see if Lucian Vale values sentiment over survival. The guards drag them out. Different elevators this time, going down, basement level. The smell changes, concrete, mold, blood, old screams that soaked into the walls years ago and never left. They throw Celine into a cell, 6 by 8 feet, concrete floor, steel door, no windows, a drain in the corner. That's it. The door slams. Locks engage. Darkness. Celine sits with her back against the wall and takes inventory. Broken shoulder. Cuts and bruises everywhere. Zip-tied hands going numb from lack of circulation. No weapons. No escape route. No backup coming. But she's still breathing, still thinking, still dangerous. She thinks about Gideon in another cell somewhere. Bleeding, dying, holding on through sheer stubbornness and a lifetime of surviving impossible situations. She thinks about Vincent's betrayal, how he played them all, how he used her trust against her, how he's probably upstairs right now collecting his payment for delivering them to Salvatore. She thinks about Lucien, wherever he is, alive or dead, fighting or bleeding out alone somewhere. She thinks about Damien, about 6 years of abuse that led her to this concrete cell, about the woman she used to be who would have given up already, who would have told Salvatore everything just to make the pain stop. That woman is gone, dead in an alley along with her old life. The woman sitting here now is someone else, someone harder, someone meaner, someone who's learned that survival isn't about playing by rules, it's about breaking them, all of them, until there's nothing left but will and violence and the absolute refusal to quit. Time passes. Could be hours, could be days. No way to tell in the dark. Her body starts shutting down. Exhaustion, dehydration, blood loss, all of it catching up. She's drifting in and out of consciousness when she hears it. Footsteps in the hallway, Multiple sets, moving fast, purposeful. Then gunfire. Close. Too close. The distinctive crack of automatic weapons echoing through concrete corridors, shouting, return fire, the wet thud of bodies hitting the floor. Celine forces herself to her feet. Her body protests, but she ignores it, presses her ear against the door, trying to hear, trying to understand what's happening. More gunfire. Closer now, right outside. The lock on her cell door explodes. The door swings open. Light floods in, blinding after hours of darkness. A figure stands in the doorway, backlit, armed. Celine's eyes adjust and her heart stops. Lucien Vale. He's alive. Barely. His left arm is in a makeshift sling. Blood soaked through his shirt in at least 3 places. His face is a mask of bruises and cuts, but his eyes are clear, focused, and they're locked on her. On your feet, he says. His voice is rough, damaged, but still carrying that absolute authority. You're alive, Celine breathes. Disappointed? No, surprised. Good. I prefer to be unpredictable. He cuts her zip ties with a knife. Blood flows back into her hands, pins and needles. She gasps. Can you fight? Yes. Can you run? If I have to. You have to. We have about 3 minutes before Salvatore's reinforcements arrive. Gideon is 2 cells down. We get him and we get out. They move into the hallway. It's carnage. 6 guards down, all dead. All killed with brutal efficiency. Lucien's work. He's moving like a ghost. Like a man who should be dead but refuses to accept it. They find Gideon's cell. Lucien shoots the lock. The door opens. Gideon looks worse than when Celine last saw him, barely conscious, breathing in shallow gasps. But when he sees Lucien, his eyes sharpen. Thought you were dead, Gideon manages. I am. I'm just too stubborn to stop moving. Lucien hands him a pistol. Can you walk? Can I breathe? Barely. Can I walk? We'll find out. They get him upright. He's leaning heavily on Celine, but he's moving. That's what matters. More gunfire from above. Salvatore's people responding to the assault. Dozens of them. Maybe more. How did you get in here? Celine asks while they move through corridors. Service entrance, maintenance tunnels, killed everyone I met on the way down. Lucien's breathing is labored. He's hurt worse than he's letting on. Vincent gave me the building schematics 3 months ago during a security audit. Didn't think I'd be using them to break in instead of defend. Vincent betrayed us. I know. He's been playing both sides since the beginning. Used my paranoia against me. Made me think everyone was a traitor so I wouldn't see the real one. Lucien's jaw tightens. That ends today. They reach a stairwell, start climbing. Gideon is slowing down, leaving blood on every step. He's not going to make it much farther. 2nd floor. 3rd. The sound of boots pounding somewhere above them. 4th floor. Almost there. The door at the top explodes open. Salvatore's soldiers. At least 10. All armed. All firing. Lucien returns fire. Drops 3. Celine grabs Gideon's pistol and takes out 2 more. But there are too many. They're pinned on the stairs. Nowhere to go but back down into the basement, and that's a dead end. Gideon slumps against the wall. Go. Leave me. I'll hold them off. Not a chance, Celine says. I'm dead anyway. Lungs filling with blood. I've got minutes, maybe less. He coughs. More blood. Make them count. Give me the rifle. I'll buy you time. Lucien meets Gideon's eyes. Some wordless communication passes between them. 8 years of fighting together, bleeding together, surviving together. It ends here. Lucien hands him the rifle. It's been an honor. Likewise. Gideon racks around. Now get the hell out of here before I change my mind. Celine starts to protest, but Lucien grabs her arm, pulls her back down the stairs. Behind them she hears Gideon open fire. Hears the soldiers scream. Hears boots retreating as they realize they're facing a dying man with nothing left to lose. Then the gunfire stops. Silence. Celine knows what that silence means. Gideon's gone. Lucien doesn't stop moving, doesn't look back, just keeps pulling her through the basement corridors toward a different exit. A maintenance tunnel that smells like sewage and rot. They're crawling through darkness. Water. Things she doesn't want to identify. Behind them, the building erupts with activity. Alarms, shouting, more gunfire. They're tearing the place apart looking for them. The tunnel opens into a storm drain. They're outside now. Night has fallen. Rain coming down hard enough to wash away blood and evidence and any trace they were here. Lucien leads her through alleys, side streets, moving like he knows every shadow in this city. Maybe he does. They end up in a parking garage 3 blocks away. A car waiting. Engine running. Someone behind the wheel. Celine's hand goes to her weapon. Relax, Lucien says. He's with me. The driver steps out. Young, mid-20s. Scared, but trying not to show it. This is Marcus, Lucien says. He's been managing my off-book operations while Vincent was busy betraying me. He's going to drive us somewhere safe while I bleed, and you tell me everything that happened after I ordered you to leave the estate. They get in the car. Marcus drives. Careful. Legal. Nothing to attract attention. Celine tells Lucien everything. The cabin, Vincent's betrayal, the grenade, the escape, the capture, Salvatore's interrogation. All of it pouring out in a monotone because if she lets herself feel it, she'll break. When she finishes, Lucien is quiet for a long time. Then he says, Vincent dies tonight. You're in no condition. I don't care. He betrayed us. Got Gideon killed. Nearly got you killed. That debt gets paid in blood. Salvatore's the real target. He's the one orchestrating everything. I'll get to Salvatore. But first I'm going to make Vincent understand what happens when you betray Lucien Vale. His voice is cold, final, absolute. You can come with me or I can drop you somewhere safe. Your choice. Celine looks at him, at the blood and the bruises and the absolute conviction in his eyes. She thinks about Gideon dying on those stairs, about the soldiers she killed, about Vincent's calm face when he sold them out, about Damien and Salvatore and every man who ever thought she was just another thing to be used and discarded. I'm coming with you, she says. You understand what that means? What we're about to do? Yes. Say it. We're going to kill Vincent. Then we're going to kill Salvatore. Then we're going to burn everything they built to the ground and walk away from the ashes. Lucien's expression doesn't change, but something in his eyes softens. Just for a second. Good, he says. Then let's go to war. The car drives through rain-soaked streets toward whatever hell they're about to unleash. Celine checks her weapon. 9 rounds left. Not enough. Never enough. But it'll have to do, because this ends tonight. One way or another. Marcus pulls the car into an abandoned warehouse district, shuts off the engine, looks at Lucy de Duchien. Vincent's at the Continental Hotel, penthouse suite. 4 bodyguards. Building security is tight but manageable. I've got a service elevator key and floor plans if you need them. Lucien takes the key. Studies the floor plans Marcus hands him. His face is unreadable. What's the play? Celine asks. We walk in through the front door, kill everyone between us and Vincent, then we make him answer for what he did. That's not a plan. That's suicide. You have a better idea? She doesn't. They gear up. Marcus has weapons in the trunk. Rifles, pistols, body armor, enough firepower to start a small war. Lucien arms himself methodically, despite his injuries. Celine does the same. You don't have to do this, Lucien says to her. This isn't your fight. Yes, it is. Vincent used me, betrayed me. I want to watch him die. It won't bring Gideon back. I know. But it'll make me feel better. Lucien almost smiles. Fair enough. They leave Marcus with the car. Walk through rain toward the Continental Hotel. It's one of those old buildings that's been converted into luxury condos. Marble lobby, doorman. Security that's good, but not good enough. They walk past the doorman like they belong there. Take the service elevator up. 15th floor, penthouse level. The doors open, 2 guards in the hallway. They see Lucien and reach for weapons. Too slow. Lucien drops them both before they clear leather. Suppressed shots. Quiet. Professional. They move to the penthouse door. Lucien tries the handle. Locked. He kicks it in. The suite beyond is massive. Living room, kitchen, floor-to-ceiling windows showing the city. And standing in the middle of it all, drink in hand, is Vincent. He doesn't look surprised. I was wondering when you'd show up, he says calmly. Where are the other two guards? Lucian asks. Dead. I killed them 10 minutes ago. Vincent sets down his drink. I knew you'd come, knew you wouldn't be able to resist. That's always been your weakness, Lucian. You're predictable when you're angry. And you're dead when I'm done talking. Probably. But at least hear me out first. Vincent spreads his hands. I didn't betray you because I hated you. I betrayed you because you were losing. The Moretti Circle was always going to win this war. I just chose to be on the winning side instead of dying for a lost cause. Gideon died for that lost cause. Gideon was a soldier. Soldiers die. That's what they do. Vincent's voice stays level. I'm a survivor. I do what it takes to stay breathing. You taught me that. Lucien raises his gun. Any last words? Just one question. Vincent looks at Celine. Was it worth it? Everything you sacrificed? Everyone who died? Just to feel strong for a few weeks before it all came crashing down? Celine meets his eyes. Yes. Then you're crazier than he is. Lucian fires. The shot takes Vincent in the chest. Center mass. He stumbles, falls, blood spreading across his expensive shirt. But he's still breathing, still looking up at them with something like satisfaction. You think this changes anything? He gasps. Salvatore still wins. He has the federal government, the media, the money. You're just two broken people with guns and anger. That's not enough. Maybe, Lucian says, but it's all we need. He fires again. Vincent stops breathing. Celine stares at the body, at the man who taught her how to read people, how to be invisible, how to survive. The man who betrayed all of them for a chance at living longer. She doesn't feel triumph, doesn't feel satisfaction, just empty, hollow, like killing him solved nothing. We need to move, Lucian says. Police will be here soon. They're halfway to the door when Celine's phone vibrates. She pulls it out. Unknown number. Against her better judgment, she answers. Hello? Celine Mercer. Salvatore's voice. Warm. Friendly. Like they're old friends catching up. I assume you're standing over Vincent's body right now. Well done. You're learning. How did you? I've been tracking you since you left my building. Did you really think I'd let you escape that easily? He laughs. You and Lucien were never meant to survive tonight. Vincent's death was just another piece of the puzzle, one I'm happy to sacrifice. Celine's blood runs cold. What are you talking about? Look out the window. She does. The street below is full of police cars, SWAT vans, federal vehicles, at least 50 armed officers surrounding the building. I called in an anonymous tip, Salvatore continues. Reported shots fired, armed fugitives, cop killers on the loose. They're coming for you right now, and when they find you standing over Vincent's body with smoking guns, they'll do what I couldn't. They'll kill you both and call it justice. The line goes dead. Lucien is already moving, checking windows, looking for exits, but there are none. They're 15 stories up, surrounded, trapped. We're out of options, he says. Celine looks at him, at the man who saved her life, who trained her, who turned her into something dangerous, who's about to die beside her in a penthouse that smells like gunpowder and betrayal. No, we're not, she says. We still have one play left. What's that? She picks up Vincent's phone, unlocks it. His password is still the same one he used months ago, trusting to the end. Stupid. She pulls up his encrypted files, finds what she's looking for. The USB drive contents. The evidence. All of it. Backed up on Vincent's personal cloud storage. Insurance in case Salvatore decided to betray him too. She starts uploading. To every major news outlet. Every whistleblower site. Every federal investigator who's been trying to crack the Moretti Circle for years. What are you doing? Lucien asks. Burning it all down. If we die tonight, at least we take Salvatore with us. The upload bar climbs, 60%, 70, 80. Boots pounding in the hallway, shouting, they're coming, 90%. The door explodes inward, flash bangs, smoke, men in tactical gear pouring through. Get down, hands where we can see them. 100%, upload complete. Celine drops the phone and raises her hands. Lucien does the same. They're thrown to the floor, zip-tied, searched, surrounded by weapons and angry voices and the absolute certainty that this is it. This is how it ends. But as they're dragged out into the hallway, Celine catches Lucian's eye. He's smiling. Actually smiling. Because somewhere in the digital ether, the evidence is spreading, multiplying, being downloaded and verified and reported. Names, transactions, crimes, all of it coming to light. Salvatore Moretti won the battle. But they just won the war. The police dragged them into separate elevators, separate cars, separate futures. Celine watches through the window as the city lights blur past. She doesn't know what happens next. Prison, probably. Trial. Life sentence if she's lucky. Execution if she's not. But Salvatore is going down with her. And somehow, impossibly, that's enough. The car pulls into the federal building. They drag her inside, through corridors, into an interrogation room, concrete, steel table, 2 chairs, nothing else. They leave her there. Hours pass. Could be days. No way to tell. No windows, no clock. Just her and her thoughts, and the knowledge that somewhere out there the world is changing. Finally, the door opens. 2 federal agents walk in. A man and a woman, both wearing expressions of barely contained fury. "Celine Mercer," the woman says, "you just committed the biggest leak of classified information in U.S. history. 43 government officials are being arrested as we speak. 12 defense contractors are under investigation. The Moretti Circle's entire network is collapsing in real time." The man leans forward. "You destroyed everything. Careers, lives, decades of carefully constructed relationships. People are going to prison. People are going to die. Because of you." Celine looks at them with eyes that have seen too much and felt too little. "Good," she says. The woman's jaw tightens. "You don't get to play hero here. You're a criminal, a murderer. You've killed at least 9 people in the last 72 hours. That we know of. You're going to prison for the rest of your life." "Maybe, but Salvatore Moretti is going with me." "Is that what you think? That you won?" The man shakes his head. "Salvatore has lawyers, the best lawyers. He'll claim he was being extorted, that Vincent and your husband were the real criminals, that he was working with federal investigators the whole time. He'll walk out of this clean while you rot in a cell." "We'll see." The agents leave, lock the door, leave her in silence. Celine sits in the chair and closes her eyes. Her body is shutting down. Exhaustion, pain, blood loss. All of it catching up, but she's still breathing, still here, still the woman who refused to die in an alley. Hours later, the door opens again. Different agent, younger. He looks at her with something that might be respect. "You have a visitor," he says. "Who?" He wouldn't say. "But he has federal immunity and a lawyer who scared my boss, so I guess you're talking to him." They take her to a different room. This one has windows, natural light, a table with coffee and water. And sitting at that table, looking like he just walked out of surgery and ignored every doctor's order, is Lucian Vale. He's clean, no blood, no bruises visible, wearing a suit, looking like the kingpin he is. "How?" Celine breathes. "I made a deal. Testimony against Salvatore Moretti in exchange for immunity. Seems the federal government wants him more than they want me." Lucian's smile is sharp. "Funny how that works." "They're letting you walk?" "Not exactly. House arrest, ankle monitor, supervised probation. But yes, I'm walking." He pauses. "And I negotiated the same deal for you." Celine's heart stops. "What?" "Testify against Salvatore, everything you know, everything you saw. In exchange, they drop the murder charges. You get probation instead of life in prison." He meets her eyes. "You'd be free. Actually free. New identity, new life, somewhere far from all this." "And you?" "Same. Different location. We'd never see each other again. That's part of the deal. No contact. Ever." The words hang in the air like a death sentence. "Why would you do that?" Celine asks. "Because you deserve better than dying in a cell for crimes you committed in self-defense. Because Gideon would have wanted you to survive. Because..." He stops. Looks away. "Because I care about you. More than is smart, more than is safe. And that means letting you go." Celine stares at him. At the man who pulled her out of an alley and turned her into a weapon. Who taught her how to fight back. who's offering her freedom at the cost of everything they built together. What if I don't want to go? She asks quietly. Then you're an idiot. But there's no heat in it, just tired resignation. Take the deal, Celine. Live. That's all I want. For you to live and be happy and forget any of this ever happened. I could never forget you. Try. He stands, walks to the door, stops with his hand on the handle. One more thing, he says without turning around. Salvatore's arraignment is tomorrow, federal courthouse, noon. If you want to watch him fall, that's your chance. Then he's gone. Celine sits alone in the room with a choice that isn't really a choice at all. Freedom or loyalty. Life or love. The future or the past. She closes her eyes and makes her decision. The federal courthouse is a monument to justice built from marble and lies. Celine stands across the street, watching people file in through metal detectors and security checkpoints. Lawyers in expensive suits, reporters with cameras, protesters holding signs demanding accountability. The machinery of law grinding forward like it actually means something. She's wearing clothes the federal agents gave her. Plain jeans, a gray sweater, running shoes. Her hair is clean for the first time in days. The cuts on her face are healing. She looks almost normal, almost like someone who didn't kill 9 people in 72 hours. Almost. The deal is simple. She testifies against Salvatore Moretti, tells the court everything she knows about his organization, about the weapons deals, about Damien's murder, about the assault on Lucian's estate. In exchange, the murder charges disappear. She gets probation, supervised release, a new identity waiting in a folder somewhere with a name she hasn't learned yet, and a life she hasn't started living. Freedom. The word tastes like ash in her mouth. She crosses the street, goes through security. The metal detector doesn't beep. She's not armed. They made sure of that. Stripped her down, searched her, made certain she's just another witness instead of the weapon she became. The courtroom is on the 3rd floor. She takes the stairs because elevators feel like coffins, and she's had enough of enclosed spaces. Each step echoes. Her legs remember the training, the running, the fighting, muscle memory that won't fade just because the war is over. The courtroom is already packed. She finds a seat in the back, watches the players take their positions. Salvatore's lawyers at the defense table. All 3 of them looking like they cost more per hour than most people make in a month. The prosecution team. Federal attorneys with briefcases full of evidence and righteous fury. The judge. An older woman with steel gray hair and eyes that have seen every trick in the book. Then Salvatore himself. He's wearing a navy suit, white shirt, conservative tie. His silver hair is perfect. His hands are folded calmly on the table. He looks like someone's grandfather. Not a man who orchestrated murders and sold weapons to terrorists, just a successful businessman caught up in unfortunate circumstances beyond his control. The performance is flawless. Celine's hands curl into fists. The bailiff calls the court to order. Everyone stands. The judge enters. They sit. The machinery begins. The prosecution lays out their case. Wire transfers, emails, video recordings, transaction logs, everything from the USB drive presented in careful chronological order, building a narrative of corruption so massive it should be impossible to deny. Salvatore's lawyers object to everything: chain of custody, authentication, relevance. They fight every piece of evidence like their client's life depends on it, which it does. 3 hours pass. The judge calls a recess. People file out to stretch and smoke and pretend they're not watching democracy die in real time. Celine stays in her seat. Someone slides into the bench beside her. She doesn't need to look to know who it is. She can feel him, the weight of his presence, the careful distance he's maintaining even though they're sitting inches apart. Lucien. You came, he says quietly. So did you. I testify this afternoon. Figured I'd watch the opening act. He's wearing a suit too, dark gray. No tie. The ankle monitor is visible under his pant leg, a reminder that freedom comes with conditions. How are you holding up? I'm fine. You're lying. Celine finally looks at him. He's thinner than she remembers. Pale. The injuries from the estate assault have healed, but they left marks. A new scar along his jawline. Shadows under his eyes that weren't there before. He looks like a man who survived something that should have killed him. She supposes they both do. What happens after this? She asks. After we testify? After Salvatore goes to prison or walks free? Lucien's expression doesn't change. We disappear. Different cities, different names, different lives. The deal we made doesn't allow for happy endings, just survival. Is that enough for you? It has to be. He looks at her. Really looks. Like he's memorizing her face. I've done terrible things, Celine. Killed people. Destroyed lives. Built an empire on blood and fear. I don't get redemption. I just get to keep breathing and try to do less harm going forward. You saved my life. I turned you into a killer. That's not saving. That's corruption. You gave me a choice. That's more than anyone else ever did. Lucien is quiet for a long moment. Then he reaches over and takes her hand. His skin is warm, real, scarred in places she remembers and some she doesn't. I'm sorry, he says, for everything, for pulling you into my world, for getting Gideon killed, for making you believe you could survive this kind of life without losing yourself. I should have put you on that plane to Montana, given you the clean escape before it was too late. I wouldn't have gone. I know. That's what made it so hard. He releases her hand. Take the deal. Testify. Walk away. Find someone normal. Someone safe. Someone who doesn't have a body count and federal charges and enemies who will spend decades plotting revenge. What if I don't want normal? Then you're broken in ways I can't fix. The words hurt more than they should. People start filtering back into the courtroom. Recess is ending. Lucien stands, looks down at her one last time. Goodbye, Celine. This isn't goodbye. We're both testifying. We'll see each other? No, we won't. After I'm done here, I'm being transferred to a different facility. Different handlers. They're making sure we can't communicate, can't coordinate, can't build anything together. His voice stays level, but there's something underneath it, something raw. This is the last time we'll ever be in the same room. So, goodbye. He walks away before she can respond, takes a seat on the opposite side of the courtroom. Doesn't look back. Celine sits alone and tries to remember why she thought any of this was worth it. The judge returns. Court reconvenes. The prosecution calls their first witness, a forensic accountant who walks the jury through money laundering schemes and offshore accounts. His testimony is dry, technical, devastating. By the time he's done, Salvatore's financial empire is exposed in excruciating detail. The defense cross-examines, tries to poke holes, suggests alternative explanations. The accountant doesn't budge. Second witness, a former Moretti lieutenant who took a plea deal. He describes the weapons sales, the buyers, the logistics. Names, points fingers. Salvatore's expression never changes. Still calm, still grandfatherly, still confident this will all blow over. Third witness, a federal agent who executed search warrants on Moretti properties. He describes what they found. Documents, weapons, evidence of crimes spanning 2 decades. The jury is paying attention now, really paying attention. Then the prosecution calls Lucien Vale. The courtroom goes silent. Everyone knows who he is, what he is. A criminal kingpin testifying against another criminal kingpin. The kind of witness defense attorneys dream about destroying on cross-examination. Lucien takes the stand, swears to tell the truth, sits down like he owns the chair. His face is neutral, professional. He looks like he's done this before. Maybe he has. The prosecutor leads him through his background, the criminal empire he built, the territories he controlled, the business he conducted. Lucien answers every question honestly, doesn't try to make himself look better, doesn't pretend to be something he's not. Mr. Vale, how do you know the defendant, Salvatore Moretti? We were competitors. His organization and mine operated in overlapping markets. Occasionally we negotiated truces. More often, we fought wars. Can you describe the nature of Mr. Moretti's criminal operations? Weapons trafficking, illegal surveillance technology, political corruption. He specialized in selling classified military equipment to foreign buyers and domestic terrorists. Very profitable, very illegal. Salvatore's lawyer objects. Hearsay, Your Honor. I'll allow it, the judge says. Continue? Lucien continues. He describes meetings, conversations, deals gone wrong, evidence he collected over years of operating in the same criminal ecosystem. By the time he's done, Salvatore's entire network is laid bare. The defense attorney stands for cross-examination. He's good, expensive. He goes after Lucien like a shark smelling blood. Mr. Vale, isn't it true that you're testifying here today in exchange for immunity from prosecution? Yes. So you have every incentive to lie, to say whatever the prosecution wants you to say in order to save yourself from prison. I have immunity whether I lie or tell the truth. I chose truth because it's easier to remember. You've admitted to running a criminal empire, to ordering murders, to participating in illegal activities spanning decades. And we're supposed to believe you suddenly developed a conscience? No. You're supposed to believe I know the difference between criminals who have rules and criminals who don't. Salvatore Moretti doesn't have rules. He sells weapons to anyone with money regardless of what they'll do with them. That makes him dangerous in ways I never was. Convenient moral distinction from a man with blood on his hands. Accurate moral distinction from a man who knows exactly how much blood is on his hands and what it costs to spill it. The lawyer tries for an hour to break him, to find inconsistencies, to make him look unreliable. Lucien doesn't break, doesn't waver, just sits there answering questions with brutal honesty that's more damning than any lie could be. When the cross-examination ends, Lucien steps down, walks past Celine without looking at her, exits the courtroom, disappears. Gone. The judge calls a recess until tomorrow. Salvatore's arraignment will continue. More witnesses, more evidence. But the foundation is set. The case is strong. Maybe strong enough. Celine leaves the courthouse, stands on the steps breathing in city air that smells like rain and exhaust, and 8 million people going about their lives. Somewhere out there, Lucien is being transported to whatever secure facility they're keeping him in. Somewhere out there, Salvatore is plotting his defense. Somewhere out there, the world is turning like none of this matters. Her phone buzzes. Unknown number. She almost doesn't answer. Then she does. Hello? Celine Mercer. A woman's voice. Professional. Cool. This is Agent Morrison, FBI. We need you to come in for a pre-testimony interview tomorrow morning, 9 a.m., Federal Building downtown. Don't be late. I'll be there. Good. Because if you're not, the deal is void and you go to trial for 9 counts of murder. Understood? Understood. The line goes dead. Celine walks through the city. No destination, just moving. The federal agents gave her a hotel room, paid for. Temporary. She's supposed to go there, stay put, be available, be compliant. Instead, she finds herself in the neighborhood where Damien's penthouse used to be. The building is still there, still standing, but the penthouse is empty now. Crime scene tape long since removed. New owners probably moving in soon, erasing every trace of the man who lived there, the man who tried to kill her. She stands on the sidewalk looking up at windows that used to be hers, thinking about the woman who lived in that penthouse, who apologized when her husband hit her, who believed she deserved the abuse, who thought her only value was in being convenient. That woman is dead. Celine killed her in an alley 6 weeks ago. What's standing here now is something else. Someone harder, meaner, capable of violence that still wakes her up at night in cold sweats. Someone who can load a gun without shaking, who can kill without freezing, who can look at her reflection and not recognize the eyes staring back. She's not sure if that's better or worse. Her phone buzzes again. Different number. She answers. Stop calling me. I needed to hear your voice one more time. Lucien. His voice is rough, tired. They're moving me in an hour. Federal witness protection, new identity, new everything. This is the last call I can make. You shouldn't have called at all. They're monitoring everything. I don't care. Let them listen. He pauses. Are you going to testify? I made a deal. That's not what I asked. Celine closes her eyes. I don't know. Tell me what you're thinking. I'm thinking about Gideon, about how he died buying us time to escape, about how we're standing here free while he's dead, about whether any of this was worth it. It was worth it. He died so you could live. Don't waste that gift by throwing it away. Is that what you think I'm doing? Throwing it away? I think you're standing outside Damien's building instead of preparing for tomorrow. I think you're having second thoughts about the deal, about testifying, about walking away from all this. Lucien's voice drops lower. Don't. Take the deal. Testify. Disappear. Live whatever life they give you and forget you ever knew me. I could never forget you. Try harder. Why do you care? You're getting your immunity either way. Whether I testify or not doesn't change your deal. It changes whether you survive. And despite everything, despite knowing I turned you into something you never should have been, I want you to survive. I need you to survive. Because if you don't, then everything we did was for nothing. Celine's throat closes. I'm scared. Of what? Of testifying, of facing Salvatore in court, of watching him smile while I describe everything he did, of him walking free anyway because the system is broken and people like him always win. He won't walk free. The evidence is too strong. The prosecution is too motivated. He's going to prison for the rest of his life. You don't know that. No, but I believe it. And sometimes belief is all you have. He pauses. I have to go. They're here. This is it. Goodbye, Celine. Be safe. Be happy. Be anything except what I made you. Lucienne. The line goes dead. The line goes. Celine stands alone on the sidewalk, staring at her phone, at the blank screen, at the last connection severed. She wants to call back. Wants to say all the things she didn't get to say. Wants to tell him that he didn't make her into anything. She chose this. Every step, every bullet, every drop of blood. But the number is already disconnected. He's gone. Really gone this time. She walks back to the hotel, climbs into bed, stares at the ceiling. Tomorrow she testifies. Tomorrow she faces Salvatore Moretti in court and tells the world what he did. Tomorrow she takes the deal and disappears into whatever life the federal government has prepared for her. Tomorrow she stops being Celine Mercer and becomes someone else. Tonight she's still herself, whoever that is anymore. 9 a.m. comes too fast. The federal building is gray concrete and suspicious eyes. Celine goes through security, gets escorted to an interview room. 2 agents waiting, Morrison and someone else. A man with hard eyes and a harder face. They sit across from her with a folder full of papers. Her testimony, her deal, her future written in legal language she barely understands. We're going to prep you for testimony, Morrison says. Go over the questions the prosecution will ask. How to answer, what to emphasize, what to avoid. You'll be on the stand for probably 3 hours, maybe more if the defense cross is aggressive. Will Salvatore be there? Yes, sitting 15 feet from you, looking at you the whole time. Celine's stomach turns. What if I can't do it? What if I freeze? Then the deal is void and you go to trial. 9 counts of murder, federal charges. You'll die in prison. Morrison's voice is flat, factual. So don't freeze. They spend 4 hours drilling her, question after question. Her relationship with Damien, the abuse, the alley, Lucien rescuing her, the training, the assault on the estate, Vincent's betrayal, the escape, everything leading up to the moment she uploaded the USB drive evidence and burned Salvatore's empire to the ground. By the time they're done, Celine's voice is hoarse. Her hands are shaking, but she knows her lines, knows what to say, how to say it, what truth looks like when it's been rehearsed enough to sound natural. Court starts at 2 p.m., Morrison says. Be ready. Wear something professional, conservative. We need the jury to see you as a victim who fought back, not a criminal who got lucky. What's the difference? Sympathy. Juries love victims. They hate criminals. Be the right one. Celine leaves the federal building, goes to the hotel, finds the clothes they left for her. A dark blue dress. Not expensive, but respectable. Heels she hasn't worn since her wedding. Makeup she barely remembers how to apply. She looks in the mirror and sees someone she used to be. Someone soft, presentable, safe. The illusion is perfect. Underneath, she's still the woman who killed 9 people and walked away. Oog. The courtroom is packed when she arrives. More reporters than yesterday. More protesters outside. More security. This is the testimony everyone's been waiting for. The victim who survived. The woman at the center of it all. Salvatore is already seated. He looks at her when she walks in. His expression doesn't change. Still calm, still confident, still acting like this is all a misunderstanding that will be cleared up soon. Celine takes her seat in the witness waiting area, watches the prosecution call their morning witnesses. More experts, more evidence, building the case brick by brick. Then they call her name. The prosecution calls Celine Mercer. She stands, walks to the witness stand. Every eye in the courtroom follows her. She can feel their judgment, their curiosity, their hunger for the story she's about to tell. She sits, places her hand on the Bible, swears to tell the truth, the whole truth, nothing but the truth. Then she meets Salvatore's eyes. He's smiling. The prosecutor approaches. A woman named Chen, mid-40s, sharp suit, sharper mind. Ms. Mercer, can you tell the court about your relationship with your late husband, Damien Mercer? Celine takes a breath. I was married to him for 6 years. He was controlling, abusive, both emotionally and physically. I tried to leave several times, but he always convinced me to stay. How did he convince you? With promises, apologies, gifts, and threats. He made it clear that if I left, I'd lose everything, my reputation, my family, my life. Your life? He said he'd ruin me. Make sure no one believed anything I said. That's how abusers work. They isolate you, make you dependent, make you believe you deserve what's happening. The jury is listening, really listening. Chen nods. Ms. Mercer, can you describe the events of the night of April 15th of this year? This is it. The moment everything changed. Celine closes her eyes, opens them, tells the truth. Damien took me to an alley in the warehouse district. He said we needed to talk, but when we got there, he attacked me, beat me, broke my ribs, left me to die in the rain. Why did he do this? Because I'd become inconvenient. I'd seen files on his laptop, evidence of illegal weapons sales. I didn't understand what it meant at the time, but he couldn't risk me figuring it out. So he tried to kill me. But you survived. Yes. How? Celine looks at Salvatore. He's still smiling, still confident, still sure he's going to win. Lucian Vale found me, saved my life, took me to his estate, and had his doctor treat my injuries. When I woke up, I learned the truth about Damien's business, about the Moretti Circle, about the weapons sales that were making millions for corrupt politicians and criminals. Chen pulls out exhibits, photos of the USB drive contents, wire transfers, emails, all of it tagged and numbered and admitted into evidence. Ms. Mercer, can you identify these documents? They're from the USB drive I recovered from my husband's laptop, transaction records, proof of weapons sales to the Moretti organization, proof of payments to government officials, everything. And what happened when you showed this evidence to Mr. Vale? He wanted to destroy the Moretti Circle, to stop the weapons sales, to expose everyone involved. We planned an assault on their compound, but Celine's voice catches. She forces it steady. But we were betrayed. Vincent Darko, one of Lucien's lieutenants, was feeding information to Salvatore Moretti. He told them when and where we'd attack. They were ready. They hit Lucien's estate first. What happened at the estate? They tried to kill everyone, burned it to the ground. We barely escaped. My friend Gideon Cross died buying us time. Her voice breaks on Gideon's name. Real emotion, not rehearsed, not performed, just loss. Chen gives her a moment, then continues. Ms. Mercer, why did Salvatore Moretti want you dead? Because I was evidence, a witness who knew too much. As long as I was alive, I was a threat to his entire operation. And yet you're here today, alive, testifying. How? Because I refused to stay quiet. Because I uploaded the USB drive contents to every news outlet and federal investigator I could find. Because I decided that if I was going to die, I was taking Salvatore Moretti down with me. The courtroom is silent. You could hear a pin drop. Chen turns to the judge. No further questions. Salvatore's lawyer stands. His name is Brennan. Expensive suit. Shark eyes. He approaches Celine like she's prey. Ms. Mercer, you've testified that you were abused by your husband, that he beat you, tried to kill you, correct? Yes. And yet there's no police record of this abuse, no hospital visits, no restraining orders, nothing to corroborate your claims except your word. I was afraid. Abusers make you afraid to report, make you believe no one will help. Or you're lying, creating a narrative to justify your own criminal actions. Objection, Chen says. Argumentative. Sustained. Brennan doesn't slow down. You admit to killing at least 9 people in the weeks following your husband's death. Is that correct? In self-defense. Self-defense? You voluntarily joined a criminal organization, trained to use weapons, participated in assaults on fortified locations. That's not self-defense. That's premeditated violence. I was trying to survive. You were trying to get revenge. Against your husband. Against Mr. Moretti. Against everyone you blamed for your situation. Isn't that the real truth? Celine's hands curl into fists under the witness stand. No. No? Then explain why you chose to stay with Lucian Vale instead of going to the police. Instead of seeking legitimate help, you had options. You chose violence. Because the police wouldn't have protected me. Salvatore Moretti has federal agents on his payroll, politicians, judges. If I'd gone to the police, I'd be dead. Convenient excuse and completely unprovable. The USB drive proves it. The wire transfers. The names on those transactions include law enforcement officials. The system was corrupt. I couldn't trust it. So you took the law into your own hands, became judge, jury, and executioner, killed 9 people and expect this court to believe you're the victim? Celine meets his eyes. I am a victim, but I'm also a survivor. Those aren't mutually exclusive. Brennan tries for another hour, tries to break her, to make her look like a criminal instead of a victim. But Chen prepared her well. She doesn't contradict herself, doesn't lose her temper, just answers each question with calm precision. When the cross-examination finally ends, Celine steps down. Her legs are shaking, her hands are numb. But she did it. She testified. She told the truth. Now it's up to the jury. The trial continues for 3 more days. More witnesses. More evidence. Closing arguments that stretch for hours. The prosecution paints Salvatore as a monster who sold weapons to terrorists and murdered anyone who threatened his empire. The defense paints him as a businessman wrongly accused by criminals trying to save themselves. The jury deliberates for 18 hours. When they come back, the verdict is read in a courtroom so silent you can hear hearts breaking. On the charge of conspiracy to commit murder, guilty. On the charge of weapons trafficking, guilty. On the charge of racketeering, guilty. Guilty on all 43 counts. Salvatore's expression finally changes. The confidence drains away. The smile disappears. For the first time, he looks afraid. The judge sets sentencing for 6 weeks from now. Minimum 40 years. Maximum life without parole. Salvatore Moretti will die in prison. Celine watches them take him away in handcuffs. Watches him look back at her one last time. His eyes aren't smiling anymore. They're promising revenge. Promising that even from prison he'll find a way to make her pay. She doesn't care. He's done. Finished. The empire he built is collapsing. The politicians he owned are resigning. The network he controlled is being dismantled piece by piece. It's over. Agent Morrison finds her outside the courthouse, hands her a folder. Your new identity, Rebecca Walsh, school teacher, Portland, Oregon. We've set up an apartment, bank account, employment history, everything you need to start over. Celine takes the folder but doesn't open it. What about Lucien? What about him? Where is he? Is he safe? That's classified, and none of your concern. Your deal prohibits contact forever. Do you understand? Yes. Good. You leave tomorrow, 6 a.m. flight. Don't be late. Don't tell anyone where you're going. Don't look back. Morrison's expression softened slightly. You got lucky, Ms. Mercer. Most people don't survive what you survived. Don't waste this chance. She walks away. Celine stands on the courthouse steps holding a folder full of someone else's life, watching the city move around her, wondering if this is what freedom feels like. It doesn't feel like anything, just empty. The hotel room is exactly as she left it. Bed made, clothes folded, everything temporary and impermanent and waiting to be abandoned. She sits on the edge of the bed and opens the folder. Rebecca Walsh, age 28, bachelor's degree in education, no criminal record, no history, no scars, just a clean slate and a fabricated past. There's a photo. It's her face, but wrong somehow. Hair color different, smile that doesn't reach her eyes. This is who she's supposed to become. Someone safe. Someone normal. Someone who didn't kill 9 people and walk away. She throws the folder across the room, stands up, paces. Can't sit still, can't think, can't breathe. Her phone rings. Unknown number. She answers without thinking. Hello? Static. Then a voice. Distorted. Mechanical. But she recognizes the cadence underneath. You did good today. Lucien, using some kind of voice modulator. Salvatore is going to prison because of you. They said we can't contact each other. I know. I don't care. The distortion can't hide the exhaustion in his voice. I needed to tell you something before they move me, before we lose the chance. What? That I'm sorry. For everything. For turning you into something you never should have been. For getting Gideon killed. For making you believe this kind of life was survivable. You deserved better than what I gave you. You gave me a choice. That's more than anyone else ever did. I gave you violence and trauma and nightmares you'll carry for the rest of your life. That's not a gift. That's a curse. Celine sits back down, presses the phone against her ear like she can somehow get closer to him through electronics and distance. Where are you? She asks. I can't tell you that. Are you safe? Define safe. I'm alive. Under surveillance. Waiting to disappear into whatever life they've constructed for me. Same as you. Will you take the deal? The new identity? Lucien is quiet for a long moment. I don't know. Part of me wants to. Wants to believe I can start over. Be someone without blood on his hands. But the other part knows that's impossible. You can't erase what you've done. You can only learn to live with it. So what do? You survive. You wake up every morning and choose to keep breathing even when it feels pointless. You find something worth living for, anything, and you hold on to it until the nightmares stop. He pauses. Have you decided? About Portland? About Rebecca Walsh? I don't know who that is. Neither did Celine Mercer until Damien beat her in an alley and Lucien Vale pulled her out of the rain. People aren't born, they're made, by circumstances and choices and the violence that shapes them. His voice drops lower. You can be Rebecca Walsh. You can teach children and live quietly and forget any of this ever happened. Or you can be someone else, someone who remembers, who carries the weight, who refuses to pretend the world is safe when you know better. Which one should I choose? I can't answer that. Only you can. What are you going to choose? I'm going to disappear, take the deal, become whoever they want me to be, and I'm going to spend every day for the rest of my life wishing I'd made different choices. Better choices. Choices that didn't lead to a woman like you having to kill people just to survive. He sounds broken. Actually broken. Goodbye, Celine. Be safe, be happy, be anything except what I made you. You didn't make me. I chose this. Every step. Then choose better going forward. The line goes dead. Celine sits in silence holding a phone that connects to nothing, to no one, to a voice that's already erased itself from her life. She looks at the folder, at Rebecca Walsh smiling from a photograph, at the clean slate waiting in Portland. Then she looks at her hands, at the scars, at the calluses from weapons training, at the proof that she's not Rebecca Walsh. She's Celine Mercer, and Celine Mercer doesn't run from who she is. She picks up the phone, calls Agent Morrison. I'm not taking the deal, Celine says. Silence on the other end. Then, excuse me? I'm not going to Portland. I'm not becoming Rebecca Walsh. I'm staying here, facing charges if I have to, but I'm not running anymore. You're insane. They'll charge you with 9 counts of murder. You'll get life in prison. Maybe. Or maybe the jury will see what really happened. That I was defending myself. That every person I killed was trying to kill me first. That's the truth. Let's see if it's enough. It won't be. The evidence is clear. You participated in criminal activity. You killed people. Self-defense only goes so far. Then I'll go to prison. But at least I'll do it as myself, not as someone I'm pretending to be. Morrison is quiet for a long moment. You're throwing your life away. No, I'm finally living it, on my terms, for the first time ever. She hangs up before Morrison can respond. Sits in the silence of her hotel room and waits for the consequences. They come faster than expected. Within an hour, agents are at her door, taking her into custody. reading her rights, processing her like the criminal she is. The trial starts 3 months later. Yes, it's brutal. The prosecution presents every killing in graphic detail, shows crime scene photos, describes her training with Lucy and paints her as a willing participant in criminal violence. The defense argues self-defense, abuse, trauma, shows photos of her injuries from Damien's assault, brings in psychologists who explain battered woman syndrome and survival instincts. The jury deliberates for 4 days. They find her guilty on 3 counts of manslaughter, not guilty on the rest. The judge sentences her to 12 years, eligible for parole in 8. It's not the life sentence the prosecution wanted, but it's not freedom either. Celine accepts it without complaint, without tears, without asking for mercy. 8 years in prison for the choice to survive. She can live with that. The women's correctional facility is exactly what you'd expect. Concrete, steel, guards with dead eyes, and inmates with deader ones. Celine gets processed, strip-searched, assigned a cell, given a number that replaces her name. She's inmate 47839. Not Celine Mercer, not Rebecca Walsh, just a number in a system designed to break people.